If you've ever checked the weather report over and over and over again, hoping that the golf conditions are going to improve, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Also, you'd be me because it's supposed to rain here on Friday, but things are getting better. So, anyway, welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook here for Wednesday, April 16th. Boy, we are in a truncated week, and we've got two more sessions left. Today is going to be the first of the two. We do have Powell speaking at a, an economic club in Chicago here at 1:30 today. We are going to carry that here on the channel a little bit later. But first, we're going to break down all of the happenings, more tariff news. How many of you are surprised that there's more tariff news? Probably nobody. And we're also going to talk about some of the stocks that reported earnings and where we could go from here. So Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, April 16th starts right now. All right, folks. Hello and welcome back, and happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, schlump day, the turn, whatever it is that you call it. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning, and hopefully your Tuesday evening was okay. My cat just let out a holler like he's hurting, but I know that's not true because I just pet him and wished him well. So I think he's trying to get my attention. That's not going to work. Anyway, Kayla, good morning. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. It's hump day. Indeed it is. Welcome back, Paul. Hopefully you're doing well. Pete, good morning. Checking in. Welcome back. Hellcat. Good morning, Hellcat. Appreciate your referral, by the way. Allsorts, good morning. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Chuck, good morning. Chuck, appreciate you sharing that article about Palantir. Chuck basically called me out, folks. One of the things I've been saying here is that I can't buy Palantir because it's just, the PE is just way too high. And I stared at the stock with a $10 price target for what felt like years and didn't buy enough. Chuck sent me an article reminding me that might be, quote, the laziest trade idea or the laziest explanation on Wall Street. And I honestly, I can't disagree with it. Chuck, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. One of the things we should discuss today, let me know what you folks think about Palantir. We do have a story here. Are you buying Palantir at these stretched valuations? Curious to see how the group feels about that. Anyway, good morning, Chuck. Couch Potato, good morning. Brett, good morning. Welcome back. Creation, good morning. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Producer is locked in as always. Javon, good morning. Welcome back. Whis, good morning, my man. Big B's, more overnight antics. Indeed, 245% overnight antics. Good morning. We will absolutely make Wednesday count. We're going to make every day count around here. White Chocolate Mocha, good morning. Hisham, hopefully I pronounce it, or Hikam, however you pronounce it. I hope I got it right. Good morning. Welcome back. Ivan, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Scott, Quantum, Tracy, locked in. Good morning. JJ, Harley, Prudenica, good morning. Gatolingua. Gatolinguangal. I'm sorry. I keep butchering your name. I'm sorry. Good morning, though. Welcome back. Market Sniper. Welcome back. Hamanta. Welcome back. Charles and Steppen. Good morning. Welcome back. Let's dive right in. And of course, we're going to start with the SPY. Oh, gosh, it would help if I shared my chart, huh? Here we go. Here is the SPY. Now, the big thing here is that we're currently staying under the 20-day moving average. It's going to be the purple line that's sloping down pretty steep, the lighter purple line, I guess you would say. And we're staying under that. And it's pretty dramatic. And actually, I think, don't we have that here on the Qs as well? Yeah, look at the Qs. The Qs, even more easy to see that, right? We keep running into this 20-day moving average. So the 20-day moving average, whether it's the SPY or the Qs or the IWM, we're going to be watching to see if it can get above this level. It's really been struggling the past few days. Today, we were actually lower in the pre-market. We popped a little bit on some Trump comments here, but we're actually still lower. S&P futures down here by about 0.75%. Dow futures down here 0.09%, so just about a tenth, and NASDAQ leading the way down here about 1.4% to the downside. That's going to be on the back of the NVIDIA story, which we're going to talk about here pretty soon. But as far as SPY goes here, we're under the 20-day moving average. We're still inside the power candle here from Wednesday, April 9th, a week ago. And the next question for me is, do we actually break down beneath the 15% pullback level? That obviously puts the 500-day in play right there. And that would be next, right? If we break down from there, maybe it would be the 20% pullback level after that, and so on and so forth. Right now, we're kind of butting up to the 20-day moving average. We'll see if we've got the strength to clear that out here. Oh, you know what? That reminds me. It is Wednesday. We are going to have Tim Melvin here today. Tim Melvin is not going to be on until 9, however, and I forgot to send him the link. So if I don't send him the link, he's not going to be on at all. So let me do that. Normally, here is your link for today. Normally, I have this done. Sorry that I forgot to do that, but that's really important. Okay, all set. So SPY, we're under the 20. Let's see if we can break above that. Now, let's talk about what's going on here. Oh, Ed, let me actually just address this real quick. Ed here saying there will be plenty of Death Cross talk today. Ed, you'll be happy to know that we started the Death Cross talk yesterday. We actually started it on this show. We started it a few weeks ago because 13 was telling you that this is coming. He was watching it and saying that this is coming. Yesterday, we shared several stats that the Death Cross, especially when it's on SPY, as opposed to like some individual names, it's basically a coin flip, whether or not it even goes down from that point. A lot of the times when the cross actually occurs, the bottom is either in or being put in. Nothing is for sure one way or the other. The takeaway from this is that it's kind of a coin flip. Death crosses, I think, are fine to look at. We've seen them play out in some names as well, very, very well, but it's just kind of a take it with a grain of salt. So you're right here. I would expect there to be more conversation about that, but we have seen some back and forth on X. I was actually watching some other traders kind of go back and forth arguing about it. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm going to use all of the information that we have to make investment decisions, but you're not wrong. We'll probably have some more talk on that here today. Okay, let's dive into some of the stories here. I want to focus mostly on the quotes, but I do kind of want to update you on what's going on here. U.S. stocks likely to open lower as the U.S.-China tariff war continues. Quote, valuations are now looking more compelling, end quote. That's from an expert here. So what happened? Trump administration levied 245% tariffs on China late Tuesday. Quote, China now faces up to a 245% tariff imports on the United States as a result of its retaliatory actions. That came from the White House fact sheet. Meanwhile, the new U.S. export restrictions halting the shipments of NVIDIA's chips, H20, not H2O, by the way, H20 graphics processing units to China were announced. The announcement comes after the U.S. government informed the company on April 9th that it would now require a license to export those chips. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that story here in a sec, but that's also weighing on what's going on here this morning. The 10-year Treasury bond yield 4.31%, and the 2-year bond was 3.81%. Citigroup and Bank of America reported much better than expected first quarter earnings, while economic data showed a rise in the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index and flat export prices alongside a slight drop in import prices for March. Here, this is what I wanted to focus on, some of these insights and stats here. According to Mona Mahajan of Edward Jones, by the way, my family has used Edward Jones in various capacities for a number of years, and they have always treated my family well. I've got nothing but good things to say about Edward Jones from a personal standpoint. The stock valuations were not stretched anymore. Quote, while market returns have been negative this year, the upside is that valuations are now looking more compelling and are no longer stretched, which was a concern coming into this year. So the first thing that I kind of want to throw out there and put on the table is how many people are moved by the valuation contraction here. How many of you are starting to take a look at whatever the stock, it doesn't have to be a specific stock, but how many of you are looking to start to add to the long-term portfolio? How many of you think that the valuation contraction is enough of a contraction for you to start building or adding to long-term positions? And I'll tell you what, producer, that actually might be a question. Good morning, Jay. Great to see you. Hertz. Ackman took a stake in Hertz. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover that, Jay. Let me actually add that to the list just to make sure I don't forget. Appreciate you, Jay, and good morning. It's great to see you here. Okay. She highlighted that all major indexes were now trading below their 10-year historical forward price to earnings multiples, potentially setting the stage for improved long-term results. Okay, quote, in our view, the spike in volatility, a reset in valuations, and signs that the worst case scenario in the trade war appears to be averted suggest that stocks may find some support and try to carve out a bottom. Interesting. That's one of the first people I've heard say that. Risks have risen, but a recession is not inevitable in our view. There's add another bank there that doesn't think that's happening after all of the hair pulling and hair on fire that we went through. The stocks appear to have already priced in a significant degree of bad outcomes. And we're going to talk about United Airlines, which also reported earnings and did something that I can't place. Curious to know if any of you folks can recall a time United Airlines gave two different sets of guidance. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. Jason Gopfert, I really hope I pronounced his name correctly, at White Oak Consultancy, LLC, noted a historical pattern. This is key. All right, we talk about the VIX quite a bit. I actually had no idea about this until I read this here this morning. I think this is pretty cool. Whenever the VIX Fear Index drops from above 50 to the $30 level, or the 30 level, excuse me, the S&P 500 has historically achieved 100% positive gains by year end. Okay, I'm going to say that again here. The White Oak Consultancy, LLC, noted a historical pattern whenever the VIX Fear Index drops from 50 to 30, the S&P 500 has historically achieved 100% positive gains by year end. However, he points out that the most recent such cycle in May of 2020, the S&P 500 returned after a year was 42.96%. Gotford's analysis of similar cycles in 2009, 2002, and 1988 also reveal a short-term median loss of 0.7 for the S&P 500 in the week following the VIX drop to 30. So here's the tweet itself. For any of you that want this or want to follow him, if you don't already, there it is in the chat here. The VIX cycle greater than 50 to less than 30 is on track to trigger today, and then he calls this a bear killer. So I'm not trying to start up a fight between bulls and bears here, but I think it's important that we take a look at all of this historical context, especially when people are doing pretty good research. I'm a huge fan of patterns being able to play out and then trying to take advantage of those. So this type of stuff is extremely interesting to me. Let me know what you think about that. According to an post by Charlie Bello of Creative Planning, historical data since 1990 show that the S&P 500 has delivered an average return of 35% in the year following a VIX cross above 50 and 129% over the subsequent 5 years. Here's the chart. Here's the data for that. I mean, to me, that all sounds pretty good. Let me know if you think the bottom is in. And again, just kind of going back to my initial question here, is anyone looking to add to long term now that we've had this quote unquote reset? Curious to know what you think about that. Okay, next thing that I want to talk about here really quick. Let me go. You know what? We're going to talk about United Airlines, but maybe we should start with the chart. No, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this because maybe we're going to discuss both possible outcomes. We'll come back to the chart here. United Airlines stock takes off. Well done, writer. Well done, Adam. Good stuff. That's a joke I would make, so I appreciate that. United Airlines stock takes off on Q1 earnings, strong Q2 forecast, forward guidance for stable and recessionary environments because it's, quote, deemed impossible to predict. Okay. It reported its first quarter financial results after the market closed on Tuesday. Here are some of the key metrics. The United Airlines first quarter revenue, $13.21 billion, missing the analyst estimate of $13.25 billion. So a very slight miss there. The company reported first quarter earnings of 91 cents per share, beating estimates of 76 cents per share. Also, anecdotally here, we have several folks that actually worked for United Airlines and are a part of their retirement. If you retire and you had, I guess, an enough years of service at United Airlines, you're allowed to fly on their planes at a lower cost or maybe even free, so long as there's so long as there's space available, so long as you're not bumping paying customers and all of that. They recently took a trip and they said there were a ton of open seats. So it's interesting to see the stock pop after that. The boots on the ground report that we got was that, hey, the planes aren't full right now. There's still people traveling, but the planes aren't full. Here's a breakdown of some of the year-over-year revenue growth by category. Premium cabin revenue up 9.2%. Business revenue up 7.4%. That's a big one. We'll see if that can continue. Basic economy revenue up 7.6%. Cargo revenue up 9.7%, and loyalty revenue up 9.4%. So lots of year-over-year gains there, approaching double digits. Capacity was up 4.9% on a year-over-year basis, and total revenue per seat mile, TRASM, was up 0.5%, while cost per available seat mile, CASM, declined 3.4%. Average fuel price per gallon was $2.53 during the quarter, lower than it has been. United said it generated $3.7 billion of operating cash flow and $2.3 billion of free cash flow in the period. The company ended the quarter with $18.3 billion in total liquidity, and $27.7 billion in total debt. Quote, our strategy coming out of the COVID pandemic was simple: build the best airline in the world and attract brand loyal customers. The people of United Airlines have executed and built that airline, end quote. That came from Scott Kirby, the CEO, while being interviewed here. Now, let's talk about the guidance, because I think this was the really interesting part of what's going on. United Next is on track, and we will continue to execute our multi-year plan that has allowed United to thrive in any demand environment. It has given us industry-leading margins in the good times, and we expect to expand our lead further in challenging economic times. That brings us to the guidance here. Got United estimated second quarter adjusted earnings in the range of $3.25 to $4.25 per share. United also provided two sets of guidance for full year 2025. The company anticipates full year 2025 adjusted earnings of $11.50 to $13.50 per share in a, quote, stable environment. United expects full year earnings to be $7 to $9 per share in a recessionary environment. So again, I would be curious. I've only been doing this for a decade, a little over a decade. I'd be curious to know, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Have you ever seen a company issue two different sets of guidance like this? Really, really interesting to me. Again, I'm trying to think. I can't place this here. But it looks like this is actually a pretty big difference, too, in the guide. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. United Airlines shares were down 31% year to date heading into the report. The airline stock was up 6.8% after hours. So let's go to the chart here and take a look at United Airlines. Here we go. So we've recently, this thing was on a huge run, basically gave back most of this run. If you zoom out here a little bit, you can see we almost completely round tripped back to the sideways area that we've been in since what? COVID? Really? So we came off the COVID lows. We traded sideways for, this is what, about 2021 to 2024. Traded sideways for about 3 years within a range here. And then recently, we really kind of took off here on United, and we've retraced almost all of the move. Now, recently, we've had an excellent bounce right here off the 500-day. Really, really nice support. And today, on the back of this earnings, we're currently up 6.5% here in the pre-market. We're actually in the process of taking out the 20-day, which is great. Maybe we'll have a change in trend here. The big thing for me is going to be this $74 level, right? If we can't take out the 200-day, meaning if we cannot close above the 200-day and perhaps build above that 200-day, we're likely to maybe roll back over and test this 500-day. Also, I don't know that giving two different sets of guidance is really going to do any favors for the company. We'll see how this shakes out in the future here, but I'm still expecting the consumer to continue to tighten a little bit. I would imagine that travel would be one of those things that's affected. We might see kind of a lag on that, right? There could have been tickets booked that people are still using and all of that, and that can slow down here over 2025. I'd be looking to see which set they actually get to, right? What kind of capacity, what kind of money are they able to make in some of the quarters ahead here? I'm almost thinking that if it can't get above the 200-day moving average, or if it can and it kind of consolidates like it did back here, that actually might be a time to see if this can roll over. Again, we also, stop me if you've heard this before, if things continue here, we have an impending death cross coming up as this 50 is likely to plunge through that 200. Maybe that creates some more downside. So as far as UAL goes here, I'm not thrilled with the airlines. I really don't think these are great trades. I prefer mostly to kind of get a read through on the economy and all of that from some of these airlines. The big thing that I'm going to be watching here, it's great that we got over the 20-day. The next step is closing over the 20-day. Last thing we want to do is give all these gains back here from the earnings report. And then what's going to happen here at the 200-day? $74. $74. Really, really important level here on United Airlines. So let me know. Thinking about it, saying Tim today. Yes, Tim is coming on, but he's coming on at 9. Let's see. Okay. Next, what do we want to do next here? Oh, NVIDIA. So here we go. Let me go back to let me actually set up the NVIDIA chart here. And then let's go to the NVIDIA story. So what happened here with NVIDIA? Down 6.5% here in the pre-market. Let's go ahead and take a look. NVIDIA to take a $5.5 billion hit over China chip export restrictions. But top analyst Dan Ives, not overly concerned. Quote, all part of the high game of poker. Okay, interesting. Dan Ives, permable. Absolute permable, especially when it comes to tech. NVIDIA Corporation will take a multi-billion-dollar hit tied to U.S. export restrictions, but a top analyst says the long-term story remains intact. On Tuesday, NVIDIA said it would take a $5.5 billion charge this quarter related to the halted shipments of its H20 graphics processing units in China and several other markets. The announcement comes after the U.S. government informed the company on April 9th that it would now require a license to export these chips. According to Benzinga Pro data, shares of NVIDIA fell 6.33%. Again, they're down about 6.5% now, so they're holding lower here. Wedbush Securities' Dan Ives weighed in on the development, urging investors to maintain perspective. Quote, the NVIDIA China restriction news that just hit will put pressure on shares, and it's a concern, but this is all part of the high game of poker going on between the U.S. and China. I'm not overly concerned by this news despite the headline. NVIDIA remains caught in the tariff spiderweb between the U.S. and China. The street knows this. We need to look through this period of vol and news and see the forest through the trees. NVIDIA is the only chip in the world fueling the AI revolution demand. So this brings me to the big question here. Who's looking to actually add this for a long term? I actually saw a couple of the traders that I follow pretty judiciously. I know one of them is taking a look at this, say this might be a buyable day here today. So would love to get your folks' opinion on that. Is this viable here? The latest NVIDIA licensing mandate seems to mark another escalation in the ongoing trade tensions with China. President Trump recently held off on imposing reciprocal tariffs to most nations. He increased tariffs specifically targeting China. In response, China retaliated over the weekend with tariffs as high as 125%, excuse me. Earlier, Goldman Sachs warned that a potential U.S.-China decoupling could spark a massive $2.5 trillion market sell-off. In February, it was reported that Chinese tech heavyweights Tencent, Alibaba, and ByteDance have ramped up their orders for NVIDIA's H20 AI chips, driven by soaring demand for AI compute power, fueled by the rise of DeepSeek's cost-effective AI models. The DeepSeek R1 AI model, reportedly developed for under $6 million, has outperformed leading U.S. models, including those from OpenAI. In March, Chinese server manufacturer H3C flagged a potential shortage of NVIDIA H20 chips. The company also warned that supply plans beyond April 20th, that's like Musk's favorite day, isn't it, remained uncertain due to shifting raw material policies, logistical disruptions, and manufacturing difficulties. NVIDIA shares are down 18.8% this year, but have still climbed 30% over the past 27 months, or over the past 12 months, excuse me. I don't know where I got 27 from. All right, let's go back to the chart here. Take a look at NVIDIA. It's still in this channel. This channel has been absolute gold. I'm wondering where the bottom is. Part of me thinks that this weakness could get bought out of the open here today. And, I'm just kind of taking the temperature of some of the other traders that I see out there. Let me know, is this something that you're looking for? Are you guys looking to add NVIDIA here, whether it's long-term or just a trade? I would imagine that the short-term traders here probably not put off by this news at all. Long-term might be a little bit different. As far as like the actual area that I'd like to be in here, again, I do think that this can retest the bottom of the channel. We were saying this yesterday. We traded back up to the middle of the channel, could not get 3 closes above the 20-day moving average. So that as support, not very strong. Down here, 6.32%. Looks like we are up off the lows here a little bit on NVIDIA. Indeed we are. So who's looking for an NVIDIA buy out of the gate? That's what I'm looking for. Who's looking to trade this short term out of the gate? And if you think that this is enough to add to the long-term portfolio, I'm curious about that as well. Let's stick with our theme here. We had our death cross back here in March. We've moved down since then, but how much have we actually moved down here? Right, we were about 116, and today right here we're down about 10% post death cross. Do you think there's some more room to go here on death cross? Let me know. Let me know what you think there. Glenn, appreciate you. NVIDIA, the 0.618 levels at 91.75. And it's also in the Ichimoku cloud. Okay, so maybe it is at a potential bounce spot here. The Fibonacci pullback level that you just gave there, that's slightly higher than the 50-day moving average, but it's actually slightly below the parallel channel here. So this spot right in here, I'll tell you what, Glenn, you know what? I'm actually going to mark this one off real quick because I think you're right. I think that 91.75 might actually be a pretty important level. Let's see if that plays out here. Let's make that prediction here today and see if that plays out here. 91.75. I'm going to mark this off on the chart. Here you go. And we're going to call this, let me actually label this because I will definitely forget. Put the label right here. You said this is the 0.618 fib level. Okay. Oops, got to type that correctly there. All right. All right. Let's see what this level does, and let's see if it holds up here. I'm really, really intrigued because it's right in that area where this thing should bounce or should find support. Glenn saying, buy this tomorrow. 98.75. Oh, okay. Well, that's actually going to change things here, isn't it, Glenn? That's going to be, okay, so that's actually above the channel here. Interesting. Interesting. Let's see if it shakes out. Let's see if it shakes out. Pete, appreciate you answering the question here. No way on NVIDIA to me. No way on NVIDIA for me, excuse me. Situation changes every 48 hours and semiconductor tariffs are still under review, avoiding tech for a few weeks. This definitely seems to be kind of like the low risk way of going at this. There's definitely still uncertainty here. I totally understand this. I totally understand why you're saying this and all of that. So as far as the long term goes, I think that's really what's complicating it here. As far as NVIDIA goes for a trade for me, it would just be short term. Part of me agrees with you here. Rooster here saying I will. Not sure what you mean by I lull, but add closer to 90. It looks like you're still looking for another 15 points of downside here before you start taking this. Okay, Hans here. This is interesting. Death crosses are all over the place due to tariffs, therefore not placing too much weight on these crosses. Interesting, Hans. Interesting. Another buy area here on NVIDIA, 49 to 51. It'll be interesting to see if we get that. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Rafat, look at the monthly fib levels. 68 to 73 is one level, and then 49 to 51. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with numbers this morning. Anyway, I tell you what, there's a couple of people in the happy hour that take a look at long-term charts and are really looking for some ideal places to add things for the long term. And I think these levels are actually under that. We'll see where NVIDIA gets to. I'm getting more and more tempted to try a short-term trade here on NVIDIA. So we'll see. This is all just noise, says Steve. I would agree. I think in the long run here, we're going to look back on this, and I agree with you, Steve. I think we're probably going to look back on this and be like, NVIDIA is a really important company, but yeah, that was just a lot of noise. Again, we'll see. We'll see where it goes between now and then. Okay, one other thing that I wanted to, what time do we have here? 8:30, perfect. We're going to have Tim at 9, so it's going to be about a half an hour until we have him. We're going to get 13 on here in about 15 minutes. I did want to cover one other thing here because, again, we're going to have the direction guys on. I think it's going to be Ed tomorrow on the show in the morning. 8:30, we're gonna talk about some of these directional ETFs. We're gonna talk about where we see inflows, where do we see outflows, which ones are popular, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're interested in directional ETFs, or if you have any questions on any of these, please get those ready for tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. When we get Ed from Direction on here. We do have a news story here today. Retail traders rush into leveraged tech ETFs, betting on NASDAQ rebound after the sharp drop. As the NASDAQ 100 reeled from April's tariff-driven sell-off, retail traders doubled down on their risk rather than retreating, injecting billions into ultra-levered tech ETFs and a high-stakes bet on a swift market rebound. The Qs, the world's largest ETF tracking the NASDAQ 100, pulled in $4.44 billion in inflows last Thursday, making it the biggest single-day influx since March of 2021. Interesting. The real fireworks erupted in the most leveraged corner of the tech market. The trading activity revealed a bold resurgence of dip buying appetite. That's something that we've been covering here for some time, particularly in vehicles designed to magnify returns from the NASDAQ 100 index. According to ETFs.com's senior analyst Sumit Roy, quote, nowhere is this phenomenon more obvious than in the ProShares Ultra Pro QQQ, ticker TQQQ. Okay, the number one dip buy target among traders. This makes me really, really happy. This makes me really, really happy because we have been talking about how good the TQQQ/SQQQ trade has been for weeks now. Now we're finding out that it looks like a majority of the traders were going there. They probably had the same thought that we did. Awesome. Absolutely love seeing that. Okay, producer, appreciate you with the retail sales numbers. Market looks like it's not even batting an eye at that. S&P futures here remain about unchanged, down 0.75%. They do not even look like they are responding to this data print here. U.S. core retail sales month over month for March, 0.5% versus the 0.4% estimate. The prior read was 0.7%. U.S. retail sales month over month for March, 1.4% versus the 1.3%. The prior read was 0.2. So both of those numbers coming in a little bit higher than expected. Again, I do not think the market is even responding to that. We are holding steady here on the S&P futures, minus 0.75%. So there you go with your first data print for today. We might as well talk about the other economic events that you can expect here today. 9:15, we're going to have manufacturing production. 10 a.m., we're going to have the business inventories. 10:30, we're going to have gasoline and oil stocks change. And 1 p.m., we're going to have the 20-year bond auction. That actually might move the market. We'll see. And then at 1:30, again, we're going to have the Fed Chair Powell's speech. Producer, help me out. Where is he again? Is some conference or event in Chicago? I can't remember exactly. Let me know exactly what that is. But yeah, and Brett, yeah, if I'm ever in a news post and a piece of data comes out, producers all over it, man, we'll at least get those on the screen here. So you'll be able to react to those numbers. Not a problem at all. Okay, let me go back to the levered ETF story here. Again, I find this great because this is really where we've been going, and this just kind of shows the liquidity here Plenty. Like you can do whatever you want in any size that you want here. Okay, so we just talked about the TQQ being the number one dip buy target among traders. I love that. Despite plunging 57% from its February highs to its early April trough, traders continued pouring money into the ETF. Since February 19th, TQQQ has seen 7.1 billion in net inflows, 3.1 billion of which arrived after April 2nd, the day President Trump reignited trade war fears by announcing reciprocal tariffs on all trading partners. This surge in interest reflects not just dip buying behavior, but leverage dip buying, underscoring a growing appetite for risk in a market environment defined by geopolitical uncertainty and heightened volatility. Well, gosh, that comes as no surprise. We've talked a lot about volatility being something that traders are going after. This is often how you make money. We had this discussion last night again on Happy Hour, where some of these big moves down really set up for a potential wealth move, especially if you can find a newer company that's still really small that can possibly go 10x. These are the environments where you find them. Makes it really important to be involved or at least paying attention to all of those. On April 3rd, the ETF dropped 16%, followed by another 18% loss on April 4th. Then just 5 days later, the world didn't end, and it rocketed 35% higher. So again, this makes for great trading. Now they're talking about the TQQQ there. Long bias traders like myself still able to play down moves in the TQQQ, just flip to the SQQQ. Both of them are plenty of liquid. Now this is trying to focus on the buy the dip angle, so it's obviously going for the levered bull ETF, but the reality is as active traders here, we can hit both sides of those moves and we never actually have to go short. Just awesome stuff. From its lows on April 9th, TQQQ has surged nearly 30%, clawing back losses, but still sitting 45% below its February peak. Now, this is the important thing that we need to get to here. I've actually seen some folks get hurt by this. I don't want to see this going forward. These leveraged vehicles, just understand how they work, right? Tesla is probably the big one. We have a number of people that trade Tesla all the time. Tesla's got a bunch of these levered ETFs. If Tesla moves from, I'm just going to make up random numbers, 300 to 250, and the 3x levered bull product is going to drop more than that. If Tesla goes back to 300, that levered product isn't going to go back to where it started. Okay. So remember these levered products, this is what this is kind of showing you here. From its low on April 9th, it surged 30% here, but it's still sitting 45% below the February high. So what that means here is that these are not vehicles for holding long term. These are the vehicles to go to for short-term moves. That means two things. Number one, if you have a profit target plan, be sure that you follow your plan. Don't be afraid to take gains. You're definitely going to get an opportunity to rebuy these at some point. Don't be afraid to take gains. And on the flip side, we talk about it here all the time. Preserving capital should be the number one goal of all the traders, especially in an environment like this. If you're going to try to take a stab at these and you have a stop, your first stop is your best stop. Make sure you don't get in trouble. You'll always have the ability to buy these things back. Don't sit through big drawdowns on these levered vehicles. Thank you, producer. It's the Economic Club of Chicago that Powell is speaking at. Okay, there you go. Also, one more thing here to go over before we start talking about Tesla. History repeats. The current setup has echoes of the 2022 bear market. Back then, the NVIDIA 100 tumbled 35% peak to trough amid aggressive financial reserve rate hikes. TQQQ lost a staggering 80% during that period. But for those who caught the exact bottom, the rewards were extraordinary. The ETF rallied 477% between its 2022 low and its December 2024 peak. Quote, that prospect of that type of massive gains is luring traders to pour money into the ETF. Absolutely. Totally get it. Again, pick your spots with this. With these levered ETFs, your timing is going to be most important. This is one of the reasons why I cannot wait to talk to Ed tomorrow morning, 8:30 here on this channel. Of course, there's no guarantee that things will play out like they did the last time. In fact, the only thing that you can count on with TQQQ is volatility. spent a lot of time talking about that. Despite broader economic uncertainty tied to tariffs, traders seem undeterred, leading into heightened volatility in search of strong upside potential. The takeaway from recent flows is clear. Investors are ready to ride out the market's twists and turns. Love it. Absolutely love that. And I think that our group shows this on a regular basis. We've got people all over the map on what they think about what's going on, the market in general, how they're looking at things. And you all are undeterred. You're all trying to make a buck off that. And I think that that's the right move. Play defense first. When you hit one of these, let your winners run, right? These vehicles are great for that. Okay. Next here, real quick. It wouldn't be a day here, or it wouldn't be a regular day if we didn't talk about Tesla. So we're going to do that here real quick. Dan Ives, making another appearance here in the news cycle, says Tesla is, quote, best positioned, end quote, to deal with tariffs. Quote, it will ultimately be finished cars versus auto parts. End quote. During an interview with Yahoo Finance, Ives shared that Elon Musk-led AV giant was best positioned to deal with tariffs related to the Detroit companies. This is also something that we've talked about recently. Obviously, Tesla has its own thing going on with, Musk battling with Peter Navarro from the administration. Musk just simply being in the administration is enough to send people off their cliff. But the reality remains Tesla here best positioned to deal with the tariffs. Let's see. And again, this interview, that interview was on the morning brief there. He then said that despite Tesla still being impacted by the tariffs, it's limited to auto parts only. Quote, it will ultimately be finished cars versus auto parts. I think that'll be a significant difference. However, Ives also exercised caution. When it comes to Tesla, I think the worry is what does retaliatory strikes look like in China? He said before outlining how the company has a crucial 6 months ahead with Tesla's autonomous driving tech, as well as the Cybercab in Austin. Again, you guys know my feeling on autonomous driving. As someone that is a car guy himself and absolutely loves to drive, I think that entire thing is nonsense. Frankly, I really don't care. I don't see how that moves the bottom line. I really don't. Maybe that's just my own personal bias here. But the point about China retaliating here is huge. We've talked about some of the things that China can do, maybe putting some of these U.S. companies on the untrustworthy list that they have over there, making it harder to sell, if not impossible, so simply not letting them sell over there. So this is a really good point. Any type of China retaliation that is directed at Tesla is likely to have an effect. We're going to have to kind of factor that in here. And that's also, I'm sure, creating more uncertainty and stopping some of those long-term buyers from stepping in at these levels. Ives also reiterated that Tesla's declining sales figures in Europe, as well as the challenges it faces in the U.S., have to do with Musk's, quote, self-inflicted brand issues, alluding to the billionaire's involvement with the Trump administration. Ives' comments signal Tesla's strong position in the U.S. domestic EV market, where it dominates in states with 43% market share in the EV sector in Q1 2025. It'll be interesting to see if EVs tick up. There are actually some other stocks that we could look at that would be tied to that are almost a thing behind the thing trade that don't necessarily rely on just Tesla. My best idea there is going to be Albemarle, ticker ALB. Actually, it's been a hot minute since we've taken a look at that chart. We might want to see where that one's at here. Here is your Albemarle chart. Let me go back here real quick. Look at this. Look at the huge round trip here. We're actually lower than I think we did break this low, at least temporarily here, $50. Just an unbelievable round trip for Albemarle. This thing had printed high of 333. This is down here at $54. They're connected to the rare earth component here for making these batteries. So, and again, it's not just for Tesla. It's going to be for a bunch of other companies. So if EVs turn around at all, or if we see that data here, ticker ALB might be a decent play there. Don't knock it. Full self-driving is incredible. So here's the thing about that. I'm not knocking it on its own. I'm knocking it as something that would be good for me. Like, I would never use this. Like, I get excited when I go to car dealerships and I'm thinking about buying a new car. I love that I can go after the vehicle that doesn't have all of these autonomous driving features in them. Like the safety feature to give you haptic feedback on your steering wheel that you're within the lane. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the thing that literally drives the car for you, where you're just kind of supposed to sit there as a passenger, but maybe still have your hands on the wheel because it's unsafe if you don't. None of that stuff. It costs extra money, and I get excited because I don't need any of that stuff, and I can save on the car. Now, the other part of this is that there are plenty of people that have a different opinion than me that don't like driving, and I get that, and I totally get that. And yeah, you're right. Probably having a well-trained computer with a bunch of sensors might be a better option for them. And the technology itself, just in a vacuum here, it is pretty incredible, isn't it? I mean, you're basically having a computer looking at the real world and then safely maneuvering a car through a changing environment. I mean, if you just think about like what it takes in order to do that, you're right, Pete. It is incredible here. It's just not suitable. It's just not a thing for me. And I kind of wonder how much this is being extrapolated forward. I don't want a Minority Report world. I don't want a world where we all get into the car and all cars drive themselves. Like, there's something to be said for open road therapy. There really is. So again, I understand this is just kind of my own opinion. And I'm glad that you brought this up, Pete, because I don't mean to knock this for what it is. It's more of a personal thing. That's just kind of how I look at it. Lynn saying FSD totally rocks, better driving than humans. I will take that. There's no full self-driving that is a better driver than I am. That is for sure. I'm willing to take that to the grave. But in any case, car lovers want to drive. Quantum, you're hitting it right on the head there. Now, that's the other thing to be mindful of here is that whether or not people still want to, they're still going to keep developing these features. I have no illusions about that. It's just the question is, how much am I going to use them? How much am I going to use them? Okay. What time is it? It is 8:46. It's time to bring on 13. Let's see how he's doing. Remember, as a reminder, yes, we're going to have Tim Melvin about 15 minutes here. I haven't got an email back from him, so I think we're good to go. Let's bring on 13 and see how we're doing. 13, good morning, my man. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing fine this morning. It's a little foggy outside, but hey, that never hurt anybody. I like the fog.
I mean, if I'm at home, I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool. Kind of gives horror movie, creepy movie vibes.
Oh, one of the best times I had when I was younger was in Manhattan Beach in California. It was completely fogged out. Couldn't see my hand in front of my face. My friends and I we had a great time. It was fun. Not being able to see but a big old orange fog in front of you because the lights.
There we go.
It was great. I had a great time.
I didn't have, quote, not being able to see was fun on my bingo card, but here we are.
It's like a game of hide and seek.
Okay. 13 pretty much ran through some of the news here. More tariffs. NVIDIA going to take a $5.5 billion charge. It's down a little bit. Where do you want to start here today?
Perfect, Jim. That was a good one. Markets are foggy too. Turn your fog lights on, people. Well, let's get these movers out of the way. There's a few that we can go over. There's one that's basically an acquisition, no trade there.
Yep.
I'm sure you already know which one that is.
That's iCAD. So let's just start with that here, right? This is iCAD here. This is being bought. It's a RadNet is the company here, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Announced it will be I was looking for the actual headline so I could just read it, and I was fumbling around doing that. iCAD shares are trading higher here after the company announced to be acquired by RadNet, worth 103 million. So no trade here. Stocks up 68%, but no trade here.
Yep. So even though that's on the movers list, it's having a good time running. Kind of stop that run. Nothing there. Let's move on to something that we can trade, like
SPEV, which we traded yesterday, and this thing popped again here in the after hours and again in the pre-market here today. Did we have something here? Nope.
No news. So I would say that this is more on relative volume.
I would agree with you.
And this is the 1.24 million share float. So nothing new, nothing's really changed with that. It's just that we're trading on relative volume. So when we look at our chart, Where did I have SBEV? I guess I have to type it in. Oh, no, there it is. This one looks like it kind of double top, but it may not have end up resulting in that, because you can see here from yesterday, we ran up to about 450, kind of double top this morning, running up to 481, putting in a series of wicks up here that did lead to the downside. But if we do get back up here to this 260, 280 area, the 280 area, and take that out, well, we're going to go on another run here. I don't know how long, but we can look to the actually, we can't look to the left because we're going higher than we were yesterday. We have to look a little bit further to the left. Let's see here. Do we fill this gap yet?
Not quite. Looks like it fills up here at 5.
So, well, what's interesting is that I have the low from March 13th as 482, and if you look at where we were at in the pre-market, we went
okay. No, you're right. Yeah, so you're right. You're right.
So we kind of filled that gap. I imagine that 480 is going to be another is going to be resistance again if it does get back up there. But once we do fill that gap, could see either reversal, or it just could keep going and try to get up to the next big area of resistance, which looks to be about 590. I would think that if we do get back up to 480, we're probably going to see it pull at first. So that would be what I'd be waiting to see here with this one. That's about all I got with SBEV.
Okay, next here on the list, TGL. This one's Treasure Global. I know we've traded this one here before. No news, 1.6 million shares in the float. Let's take a look here at the short interest real quick. Looks like we did not get a read there. Well, oh, no. I beg your pardon. We did get a read. Actually, we had a huge increase there in short interest.
I don't think this is naked shorted. This is this just had a reverse split on the 7th.
Yeah, so it looks like just a calculation issue here with the float.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is.
Yep. I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. That 1 for 50 reverse probably changed that around. Now we do have some short interest here. We'll see how impactful it might be. It might actually be pretty negligible. Stock on average trades 350,000 shares today. We're already trading over 20 million. Float here now. The new float that I have 1.6. Mm-hmm. So what do you think here? No news. You think we got to trade here or not?
Could be moving on low RSI. When you read the description of what the company does, you may be thinking, okay, well, if the consumer's tightening, this might be something that's pretty good for them if it's kind of directing bargains and deals based on their previous transactions to them, so they can continue finding the best value when they do shopping. So I think that's what TGL does. But when I look at their financials, it does look like they are going to have to do a cash raise here. So with the reverse split just recently happening, it's really going through all the motions of the cycle that these low float names do when they need capital and they have to raise it. They dilute their shares and the float gets so large that all they have to do is just reverse split again and the cycle continues. So the next step in the cycle for them is to do a offering. So I would think that with where they're at financially, their company's getting attention today. Might see a capital raise as early as today, but it wouldn't surprise me if we get some kind of offering this quarter.
Okay, there you go. TGL, be careful. Last time we popped up to this 4 level, we sold off and went lower. So just be careful here. Ticker TGL. Okay, next here on the list is going to be Mira Pharmaceuticals. We've actually seen several of these pharmaceutical, therapeutic, biotech stocks move fairly recently. Mira does have a news catalyst here today. We did an exclusive with them earlier. We now have the PR coming out. Shout out to the Benzinga Pro News Desk team. Mira Pharmaceuticals announces positive results for Ketamir 2 in diabetic neuropathy animal model, reinforcing confidence ahead of its phase 1 completion. So it basically demonstrated strong efficacy in that model and efficacy in diabetes associated nerve damage in the animal study. So looks like this is moving on then. because of the good data that it got here, plus 42%, almost 43% here in the pre-market. Quick look around the horn here, 4.6% of the float shorted here, 2.14 days to cover, but that comes on some pretty muted volume, about 250,000 shares per day on average. Today, we've already traded 7.23 million. Stock is ripping here, got a float of 12.5 million. What do you think here, 13? Think we got another trade here on Mira?
So this one didn't show up on the movers list for me, so I didn't quite take a look at it, but it is still moving up right now. As a matter of fact, it just put in a new pre-market high. I do see that this has other clinical trials going on for, this was, I believe, on the Ketamir 2. So this is one of them that they're just wrapping up phase 2. They also have another phase 1 that's ongoing, and I think they have an additional phase 1. I'm not sure how far along that is with the Mira 55 drug that they have, but that's what's going on with this company and as far as their drug development. So we're going to get more headlines about this. Let's take a look at their cash position. Looks like they lose around a little more than $2 million a quarter, and they've got 2.8 on the balance sheet. So at some point, probably in the next next 90 days at least, they probably have to raise some capital. This one probably is going to be a good trade. The float's only 12.5 million, but there's always that risk of them needing to raise capital based on what their balance sheet looks like. I haven't looked to see if they did it or carried any other financing or anything like that. Looks like there is a $5 million capital infusion from I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot that you have to go back and read through with this one, so I'm not going to sit here and try to do that right now. But it looks like they are going to need some cash. I'd have to go back and look and see if they are going to do any capital raises. But for the purpose of trading this today, let's just look to the left and see what we got.
We're right at a I'm glad you said that, because we're right at a resistance zone, and we have another one up there at 140 just from looking to the left. So spot on, 13.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so we're coming right up to, we're about at the 200 EMA on the daily chart. We're pretty much just kind of topped out at where the price action from March was at. So if we start moving above that, let's see here. We have 150, 153 from January. That was the high then. Prior to that, we had a really big move in October that took us up to 257. So there's some levels for you. It looks like before 257, you would have 170 as the next upside resistance area beyond 158.
Okay, good stuff there, Amira. 2 more movers to go. Then we're going to talk to Tim Melvin.
Let's do it
this morning. BCTX is going to be the next one here. This is BriaCell. This is an oldie but a goodie, I guess. I've traded this one a whole bunch here. This does have a catalyst here. BriaCell Therapeutic shares are trading higher after the company announced new survival data from its phase 2 study of Bria IMT plus checkpoint inhibitors. So again here, more good data. This is popping the stock. 550 and change was your high print earlier today. Short interest here is going to be 5.38% with 4 days to cover. Now that days to cover comes on an average volume of about 350,000 shares. Traded 11.5 million here. So we'll see if there's going to be any type of squeeze potential in here. It might be muted if there is. Float here, 3.5 million. This actually has some analyst coverage too. What do you think here, BriaCell? I know we've traded this before. I can't remember exactly when. Pretty sure we've had some pretty good luck with this one though.
I think we could just chalk it up to multiple times we trade this one. Multiple times it's run. This data that we're getting today is actually not the end of the phase 2 trial that they mentioned. This is just a result, not the final result, but what they're seeing here in their study. They're basically talking about the survival data being 17.3 months, exceeding the historical data of 14.4 in Traldeby, which is a different type of drug that is don't ask me what exactly it does, but it's meant to, I believe, prolong the life of people with breast cancer or breast cancer, patients that are being treated. So there's that. They have a phase 3 ongoing trial in addition to this. So we are going to get more headlines about out of this company about phase 3. I'm sorry, phase 2 and phase 3 results in the future. The company does need cash though. They have less than a quarter of cash remaining in the bank. So they are going to have to raise capital at some point. I don't know exactly when that'll be. I didn't notice any filings with the amount of time that I had to go back and look to see if they were going to be filing anytime soon.
Well, let me just help you out there a little bit, because in 2024 they did 4 such offerings. They did one in January, September. Listen to this. They did one September 11th, and then they did another one October 1st.
Yeah, and then they also just did a 3 million public offering back in February. So now they still need more money. And they also received a NASDAQ compliance warning. So they're going to have to, manage that, and in addition to their phase 2 drug trials. But there you have it with BCTX. This thing is moving. It has a good reason to move, but it does need capital, and they could raise it as early as today, but don't know exactly when that's going to be.
Prudnika here in the chat saying last time it went above 20. If you take a look at the daily chart, there were actually a couple of times here where this thing really did go crazy. The last time I don't see it popping above 20. Maybe it did that in the pre-market, but it did absolutely pop above 20 around October of last year. So good stuff there. This did move the last time. Prudnika's right. This did move the last time it got crazy. Yeah.
And remember, they have reverse split. So it was, they were trading different prices back then as well. It could have very well been above 20 before they had to, do their share dilution again.
Okay. All right, BCTX. We'll see if we get a trade there. Next one here. You want to talk about an oldie but goodie. Here's I mean, how many times have we traded this on bankruptcy news? Jay Rice was mentioning this earlier here today. Jay, are you trading Hertz here today? I'd be a bit shocked if you were. I'm curious, though. Let me know. 13F shows Pershing Square Capital reports a 12.7 million common share stake in Hertz. So that's Ackman there taking a stake. This is what Jay was reporting earlier here. Jumped 26% to 560 after that Pershing stake. Now, interestingly here, if we take a look at the chart, one of the things that jumped right off the chart for me, just like right away, this thing popped right up to 471. I guess it's either 470 or 471. And if you back out here and you look at the daily, 471 was that right in here. This was literally the resistance the last time that we tried to make a move up. This was where the stock turned around and moved back down to the lows. Now, we did find some support down here about 330, 320 area. We've come up off that. Let's see if we can get above this. Also here, the 200 EMA, which you've sometimes referenced on the daily chart, 445. It sure looks like that's coming here on a test. Here's what it looks like inside. We're holding right beneath the VWAP, but right at the support area kind of carved out here by the pre-market action. So quick look around the horn here on Hertz. 43.2% of its float is shorted here with 4 days to cover, and this actually could be significant. Stock on average trades about 7 million shares. It's traded just shy of 6 million already. Float of 123 million. What do you got?
Well, on the daily chart, there was a very standout trend line that you can draw if you start with November 29th. Of last year. There you go. You can see it. It's the first one that touches the. There you go. Yeah, that looks like we could potentially break out of this, especially on this news. Don't know if we'll see that today. Didn't really cover Hertz this morning either. I don't know what aside from the 13F. I don't know what the other appeal is. Maybe people are going to start renting cars and start buying them. Who knows? But this stake that Pershing Square is taking is definitely going to cause this to run. Could go on for more than 1 day. Don't know where this is going to end up, but we have some levels we can look at. Of course, that 200 EMA that you mentioned, that's going to be 441. Above that, we have this 475 area from the back in February that we ran up there. And then back in November, from when we started that trend line, we also have that high of about 530. So those would be the next levels I'd be watching for with HTZ. And it looks like on the 5-minute chart that it's consolidating and gearing up to try and make another upside move.
Okay. Real good stuff there in Hertz. Jay, if you're still out there, what are you doing here in Hertz? STFU saying Hertz is not only ETB, easy to borrow, it's also cheap to short. Jay, also mentioning Carr is moving on this. Indeed it is. We should have checked that. Good stuff, Jay.
It's funny because in the headlines for HTZ, the second one says Avis budget also higher. So there's two. Right now you have two rental car companies that are running on this 13F. One directly related, the other not. This one also has a high short interest, 32.5%. So what is this theme that we're seeing here is what I'd be wondering.
Okay. All right. That does it for the movers. It's 5 after 9. I'm sorry we're a tad late here. We're going to have to move quick. Let's bring him on. It is Tim Melvin Day here on the show. Tim, good morning. How you doing, my man?
We are just living the dream down here in South Texas, Ryan. Still down here.
Texas. All right.
Right.
Couple weeks to go till we get back up, move up to North Carolina and take possession of the new house. But we're on the Texas Gulf Coast. This is not a really awful place to be. It's not like we're suffering down here. So wife's family's down here, so we're having a pretty we're just enjoying it and adjusting to the fact that Central Time is not my favorite time on the planet. This is awful.
Awful, he says.
That hour disconnect is just like the whole rest of the world is on East Coast time, and I'm an hour behind.
Okay, Tim, just so you're aware, we've got plenty of folks here from California that would probably like to pick a bone with you because they are up California time. They don't want to hear about your Central Time problem.
Right, there are many, many reasons that I left California in the early 1990s. Okay,
and the time zone was one of them.
Yeah, I was a young broker, right? So you had to be at your desk half an hour before the market opened, and I lived half an hour away from my office. So this was not a fun
You were
time.
Up early. You were up what, 4, 3?
Yeah, no, usually 4, to get up, take a quick shower, chug down some coffee. 7-Eleven and I were besties back then.
You were.
And get to the office. So to my California friends, good morning. And I'm sorry, the time zone thing is not your friend. I understand that. But that doesn't mean I have to like being an hour behind. So there we go.
I'm just giving you help.
I know, and I know you live in Central Time. So
that's right.
And your Cubs are unfortunately making my Orioles look bad, so that bet's not looking real good for me at this point.
The baseball season is long, though, and we just lost our best starting pitcher. So you were talking about injuries for your Orioles. Well, I'll tell you what, Cubs lost their number 1 starter.
We lost our number 1, 2, 3, and 4, so I have no sympathy for you.
I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just saying. What do you got for us today, though? We are a little short on time today.
Okay, we're going to run through real quick then, and I'll shorten down the 5 pages of notes here because I know I don't want to take too much of your time. But we're in this weird market. I think everybody here knows that.
Yeah.
This is not normal. Nobody, not just nobody trading, has ever seen this before. Nobody is alive today that's ever seen this before. Okay, the last time we had tariffs this high was 1932, 33 with Smoot-Hawley. So it's been a while. Tariffs in the U.S. have gone down, 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 down since the end of World War II. So whatever you think of the tariff policy, whether it's going to work, whether it's not going to work, first off, those are unknowns. Don't make bets on those here. That's because we just don't know. And the administration has demonstrated they'll switch quickly. So if you're caught on the wrong side of that, you're going to get beat up.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen going forward in the markets. Now here's what we do know. We know that generally speaking, a high tariff environment is going to probably, according to the economists that I respect, a small handful, it's going to add 1 to 1.5 points to inflation and take 1 to 1.5 points off of GDP. So that's mild to moderate stagflation, which we can handle as an economy. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be great for the markets, right? It's probably really not going to be great for equity prices because coming into this, we were at a 35 CAPE ratio, a 30 PE ratio. You had an aggregate investor allocation to equities indicating like 1% compounded returns over the next decade. If you could get the most bullish guys at Vanguard, whose entire existence relies on a bull market, they would tell you 3 to 5% compounded returns over the next decade. So all of the barometers are suggesting that perhaps the buy the index or buy the large cap stock is not really going to work the way it has over the past 10 years. Which brings me to maybe, just maybe, you might want to focus on more income producing, higher yielding investing assets in here. And Ryan's smiling because he knows what Tim. I mean, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking my book. Okay.
Well,
however, my book is a very good book.
I was going to say, pretty quality book, also pretty quality strategy, adding income names to your portfolio. Never a bad move.
Now I'm not going to do what everybody else does. That's going to shock everybody because, I'm such a conformist. But so what we're going to talk about is some non-traditional ways to think about income where you can put yourself in a position to collect large amounts of cash. A good deal of it will be paid monthly, but quarterly at worst, in assets that also have some appreciation potential. So we're not gonna say, oh, buy Philip Morris or buy this bond ETF or any of that. So we're gonna get out there on the curve. So we're gonna do some closed-end funds this morning. We're gonna talk about a couple of preferred stocks that I think that you've got to get into your portfolio. Okay. Now, first off, closed-end funds. I love closed-end funds. For those, I got to do this real quick because Ryan tells me I'm pinched for time. I don't want to go over. Closed-end funds don't trade like mutual funds, right? When you add money to the Fidelity account, you send a check in, they create more shares and invest the cash. When you redeem it, they sell some shares and send it right back to you. And no thinking about it, I am not.
I was wondering if you were going to address it.
Most mornings by now, we've already been down to Redfish Pass and walked the dog, but the rest of the house isn't up, and it's not my house, so I have to be nice. So we're being a little delayed in getting on with you guys. So anyway, closed-end funds do not trade through the regular fund administrator. All of the money that is made by the brokerage, by the investment firms, is made on the IPO. There's no marketing department. There's no promotion. There's no nothing. These things trade on the exchange. If you want out, you got to sell your shares just like any other stock, which means your fund is now subject to the same psychological soup of the markets that everything else is. So these funds, because there's no natural buyer, there's no marketing fund. Yes, Jay Rice, you never buy on the offering. If you buy on the offering, I will personally fly to your house and kick you in the knee. Okay. You just don't buy closed-end fund offerings. But in the aftermarket, if it's a real popular fund, like some of the PIMCO funds are sometimes, they'll trade for more than the value of the assets owned by the fund. That's called trading at a premium. We don't care about those. We ignore those. But it will often trade at a discount to the net asset value, just out of benign neglect, the fact that there's been some sellers, or it's an unpopular asset class. So when that happens, history tells us that if we just buy heavily discounted closed-end funds, there's a natural attrition that will eliminate or reduce the discount back to average. I don't want to wait that long. Okay. There's activists out there that take positions in these funds and agitate the fund management to buy back stock, liquidate the fund, merge it into an ETF or regular fund, whatever it takes to eliminate the discount. And if we find discounted closed-end funds where there's activists and we just collect the dividend, we wait for the asset class to reverse course or the activists to score a win. It's one of the most successful investing strategies that I have used over the last 35 years. You can get strong total returns here, mid-teens compounded, with a lot of it coming to you in the form of cash. And one of the things that you need to be thinking about in here, this is something that, I first met James Altucher many, many, many years ago. Within 5 minutes, we were, best friends because we were both heavily long preferred stocks and tax-free closed-end funds. And we were at a conference where everybody traded in, long-term was lunchtime. kind of thing. And so we became really good friends over that one. And tax-free mutual funds are now getting out to the point where there are bigger discounts. All right. This doesn't happen all the time, but when you get tax-free mutual funds or closed-end funds at a double-digit discount, and you've got high-quality funds paying monthly income that is federally tax-free. Now you think about that. That's 30% off the top that you ain't paying. Okay. And it's the second safest investment that you can buy. So yes, there are a ton, Jay, of closed-end bond funds. However, remember, there's no natural buyer here. So once they do the IPO, they go off into oblivion. There's nothing to support the price of this thing. So they will tend to creep down to a discount. In case you were all sleeping through it, there was just a tiny bit of distortion in the bond markets over the past couple of weeks, which have pushed the prices down and the discounts a little wider. So, going in here, then there's activists, and there's two big activists, and they're both fascinating individuals. The first one that I want to talk about is a guy named Boaz Weinstein at Saba Capital. Now, Boaz Weinstein is your classic child genius. I mean, this guy is brilliant. He was a chess grandmaster at the ripe old age of 16. He actually interned, I think it was at Goldman Sachs. I'd have to go back and check that. But he interned at a major Wall Street firm. David Tepper was there at the time and he used to make Weinstein do research on all these obscure trivia bits because he liked to play trivia. So, but he came out, everybody thought he'd go and get a finance degree. He got a philosophy degree. And anyway, he went to work for JP Morgan in London. If you've heard of the London Whale, this was a guy at JP Morgan in London in the early 2000s that got backwards on a trade. And he kept doubling down and doubling down and doubling down and eventually cost the bank about $12 billion. Weinstein spotted the anomaly of the guy doubling down, and he took the other side of those trades for JP Morgan and the clients. They made a tidy sum of money, let's put it that way. In 2019, Weinstein noticed that the credit default swaps or credit insurance, let's just call it that so we don't have to go into a long explanation, for good companies were trading at the same of bad companies. So basically, for the same price on McDonald's, you could buy insurance on Shifting Sands of Vermont Life Insurance or whatever kind of dubious company. They were priced almost the same. So now this gets real simple. You sell the insurance on the risky companies and buy the insurance on the high grade companies, create the spread. That spread just blew apart when COVID hit, right? Because all the bad companies sank, the good companies stayed the same. So he ended up coming into 2020. He had all of that. He had some black swans. He had 100% year in a fixed income fund. This guy's not stupid, and he calls closed-end funds the single best opportunity that retail investors are overlooking. Now, the other guy is a guy named Philip Goldstein. He was an engineer, civil engineer for the city of New York, math guy. And he actually worked on the Brooklyn Bridge, the redecking back in the 70s, that whole nightmare project. But at a closed-end fund conference, he ran into a Dean Witter broker, and they became friends, and they opened Bulldog Investors, and they've done this same closed-end fund arbitrage since the 1990s. So these guys are involved in the funds I'm going to tell you about here, and they're just a great way to earn a high tax-free yield. So if you're paying a lot of taxes on your bond and your interest-bearing accounts, this is for you. MFS Municipal Income, the symbol here is MFM. You've got a 12.7% discount to the net asset value with a 5.15% tax-free dividend yield. Okay,
that sounds nice.
Now it is, and most of the bonds in the portfolio, it's a quality fund with most of the bonds at above investment grade. Then we've got the AllianceBernstein National Municipals. This is AFB, and again, you've got a 12.5% discount to net asset value and a 4.75% current yield. This one's even a little bit more high quality. So is the BNY Mellon tax-free fund with a 12% discount to NAV and a 4% yield.
That's just BNY?
You know what? Hang on.
No, that's not it.
No, of course not. And I forgot to write the symbol down because I'm stupid.
I just don't know any of these off the top of my head.
Nor would you be expected to. This is such an obscure little backwater of the market. There's like 10 guys that are actively doing closed-end fund stuff, and I prefer to keep it that way. And that's why I'm really glad that most of you guys ignore me and wait for everybody to get back on and talk about chart patterns. But so anyway, you got about a 10% discount here with a 4% yield and just an exceptionally high-quality portfolio on that one. So you're starting to see the big buying by the activists in here. They are aggressive about, especially Boaz Weinstein. He pushes the big guys. He's taking on Franklin, Nuveen, BlackRock, and he's winning. He's forcing them to merge these funds, to liquidate them, to do buybacks, to do tender offers. The new thing now, and a lot of them are just going with this, because like BlackRock or AllianceBernstein, they have a lot of regular open-end funds and ETFs. The smartest move on the planet, from everybody's point of view, except the management of the fund, because these are fixed pools of capital, right? Once you raise the money in a closed-end fund, it's yours to collect fees on forever. So they hate giving them up. But the smart move that they've been pushing is to merge it into an ETF, and that makes the discount just go away. So looking at these, we're always looking for the asset class that's been pushed down, where we think there's potential for the asset class to go higher. Right? We're looking for several ways to make money. One, big, fat, juicy yield. All closed-end funds, almost all, have a yield because they're sold to retail. Retail loves yield, and if you're going to pitch that IPO, you want to pitch a yield. So they find creative ways in the closed-end fund industry to create yield, but we want a nice yield, an asset class that statistically, and we could make a sound economic case that the asset class is going to turn around. There must be an activist investor involved, and it has to be a wide discount. So there's that. On the ETF side of things right now.
Really quick question here.
Sure.
It's okay if you don't know off the top of your head. Jay, again here. Jay, really good stuff here this morning. Tim, any closed-end regional bank funds at a discount at the moment?
There are, and it's so ridiculously popular that it does not trade at a discount, and that's BTO. It's the Hancock Regional Bank Fund. Unfortunately, it doesn't. If you get a blowout, sometimes it will, but it hasn't really been at a big discount in a really long time. Now, but you did blow open a door that I'm going to walk through, because there's not really an activist in the two funds I'm about to mention to you. However, they are a way to play markets that you can't play on your own, and they're very high yielding. So first up, I was going to skip this one just because there's not an activist, but this is one of my favorite funds. We've owned it almost since the IPO. The management team here is, in my opinion, they're really, really good at what they do. This is Angel Oak Financial Strategies Income Trust. There is an optional redemption, I think, in 2030.
What's the ticker?
FINS. Okay. Now, it is trading at a decent discount to NAV, but the real story here, we've got almost 10% dividend. I'm just pulling all of this up. This fund does bank subordinated debt, community bank subordinated debt. You and I cannot play in this market, right? It is specialized. There's maybe 25 to 30 players, and some of the bigger bond funds will occasionally take it. This is not a retail market. Even if your broker was your very bestest buddy, and you called him up and said, they're doing this offering, I want to buy it, he would say, sorry, you can't. So very specialized market. Banks, community bank, subordinated debt. And it just sits there. These banks are, we've talked about this, they're overcapitalized. They have plenty of money. They're in great shape. This is counted as regulatory capital, so it's kind of a plus for them to issue this stuff. And when you look, it's banks that I know. I don't expect anybody else to know, but really good community banks that have solid balance sheets, great loan portfolios. Now, in 2023, the bank sub-debt market, as you can imagine, locked closed for a period of time. There was just no deals getting done. Now there's deals getting done. And the initial deals that were done with, really high coupons, like National Bank of Indianapolis is just one of the larger holdings in the fund. It's a great little bank that could, they could pay the interest on this until the cows come home. They had to pay 9% to get the deal done. All right, so that's out there. A lot of this stuff is going to get called at the earliest possible opportunity. So FINS, great fund, extremely low risk, in my opinion, an institutional market that we cannot play in, and just a great long-term income-oriented holding. And then BANX, I'm also going to throw out there. Another bank fund, not really strong activist presence in there. There's a couple small activists as shareholders, but this is Aramark Financial. They primarily invest in risk transfer securities, which is making its way to the United States. Citibank's done a couple. These are mostly the top tier European banks. It's a way of moving higher risk loans off the balance sheet for the banks and still retain servicing rights and the ability to originate loans. So it's a way of transferring risk off the bank to investors. However, the loan had to qualify for the bank's underwriting process to get done in the first place. So they tend to be higher quality, safe loans, and they're really tightly controlled by the regulators in Europe, who are even better at regulating than the U.S. regulators are. And I'm not a fan of regulators, particularly in banking, but there's a bunch of regulations and hoops these guys got to jump through. So again, pretty low risk holdings, and you've just got this great fund, been around a while, trading a little discount, 9% dividend yield, institutional market that you and I cannot play in at all. That's just going to deliver a very high stream of cash flow for a very, very long time. Now, because we are pinched for time, we will come back. We'll do preferred stocks next week, guys, okay? Because I don't want to push it. But here's two things that, look, you need to just buy them, okay? Just don't even think about it. Buy them. Philip Goldstein and Boaz Weinstein love closed-end funds. They have something else in common. They both took over a closed-end fund. And they use it. Now, Weinstein's case, BRW is the symbol here. And I was actually a BRW shareholder. It was a Legg Mason fund when he took it over. So I'm still a shareholder. I have no intention of ever selling. They're doing credit arbitrage. They're doing credit default swaps, like the trade I told you about in 2019. They're doing tons of closed-end fund arbitrage, tons and tons and tons. So where they're going in as activists, trying to force closed-end funds to lower the discount. They're also doing SPAC arbitrage, which there's no point going into great detail because there's not a lot of deals being done. When you looked at the SPACs of 2020 and 2021, they never had anything to do with any of those garbage companies actually being able to raise money, right? The institutions did not stand in line. If you notice back then, Apollo and KKR and Oaktree and all the credit funds and arbitrage funds were throwing money into these SPAC deals. It wasn't because they wanted to be in on some hot IPO deal. There's an arbitrage trade in these that's phenomenal. Right? Because the way it's set up, if you can buy these, you can do one of two things. You can sell the warrants as soon as they're eligible to separate and create a discount to the trust value and then redeem the trust when the deal's announced. Or you can sell the common and keep the warrants for free. Okay, so there's really kinky, twisty little arbitrage funds. I love it. I did a lot of it back in 2007. It's probably the only reason my bartender was able to pay his rent back then. We did a bunch again in 2020 and 2021. There's not enough around, and most of what paper that you do see is sucked up by Weinstein, and Apollo's doing a lot of it, and Goldstein over at Bulldog. So you've got all these great credit strategies. Again, institutional quality by one of the smartest guys on all of Wall Street. Probably right now, I'd have a hard time thinking of a fixed income manager that's better than this guy. So you've got a fat 14% yield here. Yep, they're earning it. And trading at a pretty healthy discount to the value of the assets that they own. Then SPE, also, I've owned this thing longer than some of you have been alive, I think. This is Goldstein's Special Opportunities Fund. And again, he took over a fund, backdoored into this thing. He does mostly closed-end fund and SPAC arbitrage in this. They will occasionally do a little bit of high-yield stuff and bond arbitrage. But again, good double-digit yield to the value of the assets, an 8.43% yield, and lots of upside because he tends to own more equity-related funds than Weinstein does in his fund. So just both of those long-term, you get disasters like we had last week, you just buy them.
Okay, Tim, great stuff. Look forward to doing preferred stocks next week. Market opens here in 2 minutes.
Oh boy. All right.
Have a great rest of your Wednesday, but more importantly, have a great Easter holiday here with your family. Are you going to see 13 on the way out of town or no?
Where is 13? Is he up in Austin or?
No, I'm around Houston.
We're gonna drive right by your house. So
hey, if you're going by 10, you'll be going right by it.
Yep, we are. Yeah, no, we're taking 10 because we're going. We got to take Route 10 all the way back to Mobile and then shoot up. And I tried to find ways around going down to because I hate 10. Once you get past to Houston, it's just all, ugly.
I got you. Yeah, it's just a completely open road most of the time. There's nothing really to look at.
And just great swamp on either side.
This is like Shrek said, this is my swamp.
All right, guys. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the holiday.
Good stuff, Tim. Happy holiday. We'll talk to you next week. That is Tim Melvin, folks. Glad you guys love that. Really good stuff here. Best guest ever. Best guest to date. This is pure gold. Really good stuff. Markets open too. Look at that timing. Here we go.
Yep, and looks like I saw somebody said they were gonna. I think it was Crow saying that they liked TGL. That moving up here out of the gate, trying to come up and take out the one of the peaks it made earlier in the pre-market when we opened. The high of the pre-market is 412. Looking to get up to 460 or higher. SBEV, this one from yesterday, that went down to the 65 EMA and then bounced back, trying to recapture VWAP right now. BCTX, that one also lower out of the open. Mira getting some support from the VWAP, trying to turn around as well. Don't like the way the MACD looks. Be careful with that one. Hertz, that opened lower out of the gate here and kind of slowed down. Might be heading right for the 65 EMA. That's going to be at about 405.
Mira here trying to hold on to its VWAP up, just lost it. All I had to do was talk about it. Folks, the tickers that Tim was talking about, I went ahead and threw them in the chat. Good morning, Dan, Amanda. You're welcome, Ed. And then hello to everybody that I missed. Sweet One, Quantum, STFU, everyone else that I missed there. Good morning. Okay. SBEV trying to go through its VWAP right now. Market actually is trying to bounce here a little bit. It was definitely weak in the pre-market right into the open. Mike, I saw you were closing your SQQQ position. That sounds like that was an overnight one. Good stuff there. That definitely worked here. I didn't have an angle yesterday. Either way, I ended up not taking anything overnight. Good trade there, Mike. We'll start off with a registering to get the train rolling here.
Yeah, that's looking like the market's trying to move back up to the consolidation in the pre-market. That's going to be from about 533 to almost 535. I could call it about 534.80.
MP here, possible move through 27. Watch that on a break.
Let's see here. So SQQQ, that came right down to its VWAP. Let's see if it gets support or not. Remember, we had that consolidation, so we could end up seeing the market turn around here and go back down. Let's keep that in mind. Looks like TGL is trying to go higher here.
BCTX rolling back over, pretty much giving everything back on that. Here is TGL. This has actually got some pretty obvious resistance areas above it. I'd watch that 4 level for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've not seen too many big areas of sellers. It really doesn't start to ramp up that much until you get into the 390s.
Let's see what we got. I'm looking at NVIDIA options here. NVIDIA bouncing off those lows. That might have been a good buy right out of the gate there.
Here we go with TGL.
Here's TGL.
That's coming up to the 390 area. Maybe start to lighten once we get into the 390s.
Yeah, I didn't take this one, but I would definitely be lightning at 4 there if it gets up there or thereabouts. 390s would be fine.
And here we are running into that resistance I was talking about with all these sellers, but we are chewing through them. It's just that we are hitting this area, and it really starts to thicken up around 4.
MP took 27 on volume. This volume's still looking good. That actually went to about 27.5 there on the high print. So MP is rolling here. Here's your 397. Here comes your 4 test on TGL. There it is, and through.
Mm-hmm. Coming up to the pre-market high of 412. Could end up going as high as 460. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's draw a trend line on these peaks here, starting with the 425 one, drawing it up through the one that has the 412 high. That's going to be at 640. That would
412. The
$4.12. I'm sorry, the 425 at the time. That's that price.
Oh gosh, I was looking for the price. So you're talking about these two here.
Yep.
You're going basically right here, and then you're extending that out. We can do that.
Yeah, that might end up taking it up to about 450.
Okay.
So we'll see if we end up getting that. I'm not in this one. Just already traded it. I don't have a position anymore, but that was nice. Kind of agreed with Crow on that one. I mean, the dude doesn't really miss, does he?
Not very often. Crow and Matt Maley drinking from the same well, it looks like. STBX halted here. And Smoke Tuna, that was one. Good morning, Tuna here. STBX, this is halted right at 255. So right out of the open there. Was there news here? What was going on with this one? No, I don't see any news on that. NVIDIA, by the way, continuing to trade higher here. Nice move right off the open there. Megha's asking, seeing any impact from the 245% fresh uptick on the China tariff? I guess you could say you're seeing the market down here, right? The SPY's down about 0.9%. The NASDAQ, that was down. That's still down 1.7%. But there's also the NVIDIA news there that has to do with the $5.5 billion charge that they're going to take on the H20 chip. So I would say that the impact from those uptick in tariffs on China is fairly muted. I actually think that the NVIDIA story here is doing more damage.
Yeah, we probably can get this to run some more. You're probably right about that. I think there may be some more because when it comes, the market's kind of tired of these the whole tariff situation.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Tired about with it, and I think at this stage a lot of it's been priced in, or at least the impact from the must-haves that we need from China. Yeah. But I think it seems like the market's kind of getting on board with the idea of diversifying supply chains away from China.
Yeah, I totally agree. Mike here taking an SOXL trade, pretty good. Now, normally I'd be waiting. My strategy on these has been VWAP dependent, which I, of course, didn't get entry there, but that looks pretty good. Here's a look at your Qs. Well, I don't know, 13, I don't think you were here this morning. One of the news stories that I covered here today was that retail traders rushed in to the levered ETFs. The biggest one, TQQQ, the one that we have been talking about that had the most inflows. We're actually going to talk to Ed from Direction tomorrow in the morning, too. That should be interesting. In fact, 13, if you have any questions you'd like me to ask Ed, if you don't think you can make that, let me know. I'll be sure to get those in there.
Yeah. You said it was when?
Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you some questions in Slack.
Perfect. All right, NB here. This is also pushing. This moved through its VWAP. This was actually holding right beneath its VWAP. And Kathy mentioned this one here. We did pop above. Kathy, I'd be waiting for a move above this 383 here. I don't know if we're going to get that. Volume needs to continue here.
And then Bull mentioned by Crow that's coming back. And then after you look at that, take a look at TGL with the trend line that we just drew.
So on Bull here, what do we think because valuations don't matter here, right? We're basically just trading momentum here. We think 50, 55 is a possible area here on Bull. Let me know what you think. Where can that go? Because that actually might be a trade. And then, oh my God, TGL. We're right to the trend line.
Pretty close, yeah. Pretty close. I was looking for 450. I think I got 440. So
Okay,
I'll
not bad.
I'll have to tighten that one up. One thing I saw about Level yesterday was there was a Charles Gasparino post about delisting some China-based stocks, and Bull was one of them.
So Gasparino was the one that broke that potential delisting news a few days ago. Wasn't that on Monday? Boy, I am losing track of the days. That is.
I don't know the exact day.
Yeah, I could have sworn we talked about that on Monday, and then we talked about it again yesterday. Yeah, that's what happened. So maybe there was an update there. So Webull, one of the stocks that could be delisted, if that, I don't think that's going to happen. Just to be clear.
I'm just saying what he said on an X post.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So there's that asterisk next to Bull now.
We also have this. Webull announces the closing of a business combination transaction with SK Growth Opportunities.
Okay, so that's probably why you're seeing some movement to the upside today.
Maybe.
But also, Webull, not Webull. It's Bull either way. So MIRA.
Thinking about it, walked into that one. I mean, sorry about that. That's good.
Mira, we were talking about this.
Either way.
MACD not looking great. That kind of predicated this move to the downside here. Looking like it might get some support from the 65 EMA. It's still a little ways away from about 5 cents away, but the mirror turning down. So this may bounce at some point, just not quite yet.
Would love to see that get to 103. That is your 65 EMA. Smoked Tuna here picking up some Mira for a trade. Tuna, what's your trigger on that trade? What's the trigger to enter there? Is it a specific level? What is it there? TGL 420. This actually might go back to that trend line. I'd watch for a possible break of that trend line. By the way, NVIDIA, we had some put and call flow right around the open. This has pretty much turned to call flow now on NVIDIA. This holding near the highs. Let's see if this can close that gap down at all. Intel also seeing call flow. SMCI seeing call flow. SMCI is actually trading higher.
SBEV, that fell out of the open as well. Lost 65 EMA. Did find some support around 340, trying to recapture 65 EMA, but this kind of looks like it's had a slanted a slanted head and shoulders pattern here in the pre-market. So this looks like it may end up going lower before it starts to recover some of these levels. So we'll see if that ends up happening. First thing we're going to want to see is recapture that 65 EMA, but if it doesn't, then you're likely seeing this resolution to the downside from this pattern that we got here. That could end up going down to the 200 EMA, which is going to be about 305.
Okay. Weebles webble, but they don't fall down. We'll give you a one up for that. We'll give you a one up for that, Pete.
All right. STFU mentioning OST. I think he said it 3 times, so now Beetlejuice should appear.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, look at this. This is interesting with the price action we had this morning where it dropped out and we have these kind of like these tweezers at the bottom here down at 180. So that could be, we could look at this as a reversal pattern. We've already recaptured VWAP in a couple of these smaller EMAs on the 5-minute. We have the 260 and the 65 EMAs just above where we're at now. So we take that out. I think the next resistance area is going to be about 235.
This had a pretty huge range yesterday, so I'm wondering if some of those levels can get hit here. Maybe even that starting with that 268 level. We did move through the VWAP here. Would love to see that continue to build. Market slowed down a little bit on that bounce. The initial bounce out of the open since then has slowed a little bit. Also looking at BABA here. We had talked about some of those tariffs here. BABA lower by about 3.7%. Not ridiculous. Given the huge increase there. But anyway, STBX looks like this is trying to trade higher, and go for 3. MP, this continued to move. That 27 spot, was in fact the spot. We're now $1.20 higher than that. That's pretty good. God, I actually wish I would have taken that one. But the volume was great out of the open on that. Bummer.
Wasn't this the one I said I think 30 might be?
I think so, yeah. And 30 was your pre-market high yesterday. You might have some more there. I wonder if this pulls it all and sets up for an entry.
If this runs to 30, that would be a really good time, I think, to maybe take your gains. If this is a day trade,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a plan if you're holding this for a longer term, but for the purpose of a day trade, running up to 30 would be a really good exit area, in my opinion.
The trade desk might be trying to take out 50. We'll see. Some of these banks are trying to hold higher and maybe go higher here. Bank of America's trading up here today. Citibank gave back everything from its earnings pop yesterday. Still seeing more NVIDIA call flow. Okay, what chart do you want? I got to step away for a sec.
Well, I was just looking at what Jay Rice is saying about XLE. This thing, I've been watching this for a while. It traded up into a rising wedge, and now we've fallen out of that. We fell out of that as a result of the tariffs. Kind of rebounded. We're consolidating in the middle of the dropout now, but it looks like it may end up going lower, which wouldn't be surprising to me with the global economic slowdown that we're experiencing from the tariff war here, the trade war. So naturally, that's going to mean less energy demand as less products are being made, less things are getting shipped. I think oil is probably going to end up going lower. My next, let's see, if we go beyond this is about just under $75 that we bounced off of. So if we continue lower, I would think that somewhere around 72.85 might be the next support area. And then beneath that, I like 70 and 50 cents. MP resistance at 28.41. Let's take a look here at a chart and I'll tell you what I think about that. I'm going to start with a smaller time frame. And you said 28.41. Well, I mean, it did run up to this, and then I see what you're saying about where it just ran up to. That got as high as 28.32. Now this 41 that you're talking about, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Are you referring to like the 9:30 candle from yesterday when we opened? There's a number of resistance areas that I see. There's also this one back from after hours on Monday. You tell me where you're getting 28.41 from. If it's from like a particular high or low from previous price action. I mean, I'm not saying I don't see what you're saying. I get it. It's or is it from the highs of the after hours? Actually, it looks like it was about the double top area from Monday. Is that what you're referring to?
It could be 28.31.
Then I think that's what he's referring to. Because if you look at if you go to a smaller time frame and look at the price action on Monday, that's about where we were topping out at. And that's where we kind of topped out at today. So I guess that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I'd say that's a resistance area. It was also a support area yesterday before we lost it. And you can see that in the pre-market. So absolutely, that's an area. I would say for sure. Now, if we get above that, that's going to turn into support. Yep. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Oh, and you're also talking about even a longer time frame. I'm not looking that far back, but you might be right about that too.
Look at United Airlines. This is giving back almost its entire earnings pop from last night here. It's only up 1.3% now after some pretty good selling here. This looks like just selling volume out of the open here. United Airlines. I guess the giving two different sets of guidance didn't save it here.
That's right, they did, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And I almost wonder how many more companies are going to do something similar.
Well, I guess that's a good question then. What's better, no guidance or dual guidance?
I mean,
here's a situation if one of these two things happen, or we're not going to provide.
That's a really good question. Sure. That's a really good question.
So one thing that really stands out to me already with UAL is that the 20-day SMA. This has been something that has been providing resistance for some time now. It opened over it.
Really quickly, I'm going to go back to UAL, but TGL here, Crow's mentioning this. This came all the way back into VWAP and is trying to bounce from the VWAP. So if you think this is going to make another run at that trend line here, this might be one of the areas. Now, 13, let me load up that chart here because that is something that we took a look at on United Airlines earlier, and you're exactly right. Looking at the 20-day here, it has definitely, oh, come on. Here, looking at the 20-day here, it has definitely been holding this down. So sorry for interrupting. What else did you have?
Well, and one of the things I think we're going to want to see is if the price can recapture and close above it today. If it can't, then we might be experiencing a bit of a reversal from this this bounce off the 500 that we had here. So I think that's going to be one thing that we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on when it comes to UAL is if it can recapture and hold above the 20-day SMA. That could be the indicator that we need to that the signal is turning around. There's a number of other things that could play out here too, but that's going to be the first thing that I want to see is holding above the 20-day SMA, seeing as how it's been suppressing it for weeks now.
Okay. By the way, folks, let me go back to the main workspace here. Baba, we showed that earlier. That was really, oh God, I cannot type at all today. This is really frustrating. Baba had it was weak yesterday. It was weak here again in the pre-market. Actually is kind of carving out. This feels like it might be carving out a bottom down here at 108. We'll see if that holds up, but some back and forth action here on Baba. We'll let you know. MP pulled off that $28 high. I'll be honest with you. I don't see anything great here this morning again. I am not in a rush for any of this stuff. I'm looking around though. I'm trying.
We had some good, movement out of the gate here, but yeah, I think this is just going to be something that we just need to kind of be patient and wait for a setup on. And some of them are starting to do that, but with MP, for example, like this is it's had a really great run out of the gate here. It's still getting support from VWAP. I think that it would have to cool off just a little bit before we make the next move up. But it had a really good move out of the gate. It was 3 different candles. So we do need to come back in here a little bit or cool off. Hopefully it just doesn't lead to going right back to where we opened at.
What does Jerome say? We'll find out shortly. He's in Chicago at the Economic Club of Chicago. That is at 1:30 Eastern, by the way.
Looks like Bull is trying to break out over 43.50. It's printed above that level, but we have not had any closes on the 5-minute chart above that. So I would probably think that that's going to be a breakout resistance area.
MBRX, this is a penny stock, but might be going for dollar territory there.
TGL, that's
BCTX, sorry, 13. BCTX bounced from that spot line. I think you were looking at it down here. So far, so good. Here's your TGL, 13.
That's moving up towards the VWAP. It should be through yours by now.
Yep, it's holding the VWAP. It actually, on my chart here, looks like it bounced pretty nicely from the VWAP there. I'm going to take a look at this. Maybe this is something. Am I boredom trading here or what?
Maybe.
Probably should have added this a little bit lower down there in the 360. I'll see if I can be patient here and wait this out.
This one is from yesterday, SNYR. Not with the greatest movement so far, but it's kind of setting up. Oh, what's this?
This is NB. This actually, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Kathy was on this one. This now took out its highs here. And let me look to the left. Let's see if we have any other levels on this.
Yes, it's going to be back in
right
April.
Here.
Yeah, basically a year ago. That's got it at
$4. Yep.
Look at the price ladder. There's a huge wall of sellers right there at 4.
Yep. And so, TGL is continuing to go. I was a little bit late there, Crow. That was a great call.
Yep. Now, if we do break out of this $4 resistance area in NB, I have levels at 430 and 475.
Okay, so that $4, it's going to be your next spot there, ticker NB.
All right. Let me go back to
look around here.
MIRA went down to the 65 EMA. It looks like it might be trying to reverse. So there could be something happening here with MIRA. Let's see what this ends up doing. And what else do we have here? Hertz trying to get back above VWAP. It's been pretty much beneath VWAP all morning, even in the pre-market, not having the greatest time holding above it, but looks like it could get going here pretty soon. Just need to see a little bit more upside here. That'll cause the MACD to curl. We'll get a recapture of the VWAP, and we might have some better movement. So we'll see. What else do we got going on here?
We got the NASDAQ at the lows, by the way. So NASDAQ here, session lows. That makes me want to check on NVIDIA. What did we do? All right, so we're rolling over here on NVIDIA. We did pop off the lows, but we're rolling over here. I'd watch it. Man, those call buyers are probably underwater here. Seeing more put flow now on the unusual options.
OST is halted to the downside. When did we talk about this one? It must have been a brief.
Yeah, it was STFU was saying
gotcha.
OST.
That's right. You right. Let's see here. So Hertz.
Oh, Wimmy. This is another kind of a jump. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm looking around for anything that's going on here. I don't have anything on my radar that I'm trying to get. I feel like I was late to TGL there. Wimmy popping into a halt, 523.
I wonder if it's this Form 10. This is the only other news that I see prior to today. I'm not going to spend time looking through this, but that's the only other piece of news that I see is a Form 10K. So it must be something in there that's driving people wild.
Mira here trying to hold 104. We'll see on that. Amanda taking a look at Broadcom, AVGO.
Oh, that's looking like it's going to try to push higher.
It looks like this is moving down in sympathy with the rest of tech right here, watching the RSI and waiting to go long. Amanda, are you looking at the RSI in a particular time frame? Is it daily RSI? What RSI parameter are you looking at there? That's interesting on Broadcom. Market here at the lows now. SPY at the lows, 530 here. S&P futures continuing to move lower, minus now 1.4%. Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry, STFU. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is totally magpieing this whole market right now, waiting for the next thing, the shiny thing to get my attention. Absolutely. Winnie halted, OST halted, opposite directions. MP materials not getting the rebound we were looking for. Lots of selling in this, coming down to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Webble might go here. It's making another attempt to get over that 43.30 level that has suppressed the price, and we haven't seen any closes above it yet. Still have a little less than 4 minutes left in this candle, so still could do the same thing that these previous candles were, but level is looking like it's trying to go higher.
Amanda, looking for low RSI on the 1 hour here on Broadcom. Appreciate that. I'll try and remember that.
I don't want to get anybody excited, but Rivian was moving up, and it might try to go higher. Looking for 12, I would say.
I'm hoping that it fails and plunges because I'm short Rivian.
Oh, all right.
I took a put trade off the unusual option scanner yesterday. I'm still in that one.
Gotcha.
I think we're flat on that. Let me check here real quick. No, we're actually up slightly on it. Okay. Well,
there goes Bull coming up to the session high.
Webcoin saying there's a lot of pop and drops today.
Yeah.
It does seem like that. The market actually kind of seems like that too, does it not? Right? We popped earlier and then we dropped. Popped in the pre-market here.
Yeah. We've been talking about how this market was looking tired and weak, and that it wasn't going to be unexpected if we did go lower. I've been talking about how this market looks like it's going to go lower. Just not a lot of buyers right now. Not a lot of people really wanting to trade with how much uncertainty there is.
Powell's at 130, Mike. Nice job, Amanda, on those Rivian puts. That was really short term here. Still hoping that kind of falls out here. We'll see.
STFU, thanks for the big shout out.
HLD.
Holy cow, that's going to make us all a ton of money.
What? What happened?
He's saying Neo's 5 cent screen on the day, so watch out for the Neo nerds calling it out. Webull going higher now, 45.79. That was a pretty good looking setup. Just needed to get over that resistance area.
Hertz testing its VWAP for a possible upside move. Here's your Webull break.
What else do we have going on here?
ABLD, that actually looks all right here today. I tried to click on it. I don't know what happened there. APLD is still ripping after yesterday's just horrific move down. This might just kind of be a dead cat.
Speaking of horrific moves down, BCTX pretty much getting back the entire move off the news it had. Because that wasn't...
oh, my God. Yeah, that's ugly.
Yeah, that wasn't, phase 2, results. That was just an, update.
Mullins down 12.7% today. The short that keeps on printing.
Have to do that. Have to call them all.
That's so crazy. Lauren here, no news, but long on MBOT, MBOT. This is Microbot Medical. Actually, this chart here sure looks like this wants to kind of break out from this 263 area. What do we got on a little bit longer? This has actually made a pretty decent move from 150 already. You went on to say here, price projection at 9.
Speaking of decent moves, Bull looking for 47.
So, Lauren, help me out here. 9 puts us right up here. How do we get that? What's the catalyst that's going to take us to 9 here? That'd be a juicy move to capture. What's the thought here on MBOT? Zio continuing to push higher here. This actually had, if we zoom in here, this actually pretty awesome. This impulse move, curl, and then a huge move through VWAP on volume. New highs now, too. Let me check back in on Broadcom, see if we flashed the buy signal there. Not quite. No, still holding low RSI here on that 1 hour. Jay also meant, interesting. Okay, so Lauren saying a 1-year price target, but how did you come to that number? Was it just a random number? How did you come to that number? Jay Rice, though, this is interesting. MBOT saw a bunch of calls bought yesterday on this name. I did not see those, but with this trading up here, this was yesterday, and then maybe even higher here today. Let me see if I can track those down.
Not sure. TGL might be finding some support from some of these highs that we were getting earlier in the pre-market. Not some of these crazier ones, but the ones in the middle, particularly around 805.
For MBOT, was it these July? Because I do see a whole lot of call interest there in July. But I tell you what, these things are spread. It doesn't look like a bunch of action in these calls. It almost looks like the traders expect these to be exercised if they work. Generally, I'm just flipping premium on some of these calls.
MP is trying to reverse.
Oh, and look at the area that it's at, right at that 65 and 200 convergence there.
Yeah, the volume is a little bit low, so got to be careful with that. Might not get some of these follow-throughs or even that big move back to VWAP that we want. But it is encouraging to see that it's trying to turn around and get support from those EMAs.
And thank you guys on MBOT here. Thank you, Lauren. Now I understand the MBOT here, the $9 price target. Of course, it wasn't random. It came. This was from last week, right? Thursday, April 10th. That was the price target from Wainwright. I got it. I got it.
Wimmy is unhalted and going higher. 643 current high.
Thank you, folks. Oops, gosh, clicked on it. Wrong thing. So this is the one that was halted. Oh my gosh, yeah, big move out of the halt there. Even more volume too. Remember, this actually got halted on volume. Now we have even more here on Wimmy. Well, I'll tell you what, anyone that was in Wimmy here today, I was not. I feel behind again. I feel slow and behind again.
This coming right up to the 15 EMA on the daily. It looks like it's going to halt here. The 65 EMA is up at 837. We could actually go, pretty quickly, probably right to that. Would not surprise me. I don't even think that I'd call it stupid levels yet.
It's okay, Lauren. I was basically trying to piece that all together in real time, and it looked herky jerky there. No worries at all. And Gil, thank you for helping out there.
Mira looks like it's trying to turn around here. Might get going.
It does. That 65 EMA on the 5 again, 13.
The beloved 65 EMA.
SBEV might be trying to bounce off the 200 EMA. That's down there at 305 on SBEV. Splash Beverage.
Hertz is trying to make its way through VWAP. It looks like 235 is the big resistance area with all the sellers. So we get through 235. This thing may have a better time trading, but there is a lot of other resistance levels on the way up. So might not work out as well.
Several of you mentioning CoreWeave here. Didn't we talk about this last night on Happy Hour? Or was it the morning show yesterday? I can't remember.
We did talk about it, about how, what was the comment that was made? We did talk about it. I can't exactly remember what we said, but it was about how it may have been late to the IPO.
Yeah. Yep.
And the better time for them to IPO was going to be last year when the AI theme was still really strong. This was before all the tariffs and everything. So
yep.
Yeah, I think that's why we're seeing it down. They just were really late to IPO. They should have done it like 6 months prior when they did, and they would have been fine.
Yeah, and my follow-up comment here was that I really think that this is going to test that 37 level. This is kind of where we turned around before. I would expect CoreWeave to break that 37 level to the downside, and then after that, you're going to get price discovery of where that bottom is. And it might actually be a better trader after that takes place.
MP with a big reversal coming back up to VWAP.
You got that right.
Still waiting for Mira to show us some reversal. It's trying to bounce, but it hasn't really reversed yet. I want to see this thing go back up to VWAP.
Wimmy halted again to the upside, 667.
Oh yeah, and this thing will probably go even higher out of the next halt because it was just, as I was just mentioning with the levels. This could get up into the 8s. Jay Rice, I think, did point out that I think it was Jay Rice. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's STFU. Winnie is the majority shareholder of MLGO.
Oh, so we should expect MLGO type action on this name?
It might be moving. I don't know if it is or not. I haven't looked.
Well, I just mean MLGO was crazy when that moved. I'm wondering if Wimmy's going to do something similar. There were multiple days where MLGO was halted several times.
MP right up to VWAP. That was a really great reversal off those two EMAs.
It sure was. That would have been a pretty good trade too. God, I just feel slow. Shit.
Well, it's fine if you're slow and not getting these trades.
I know. I want to like that. That's my big thing.
We're only a little more than a half hour into the day. There will be plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's not force trades and
I think you're right.
We're smart. We can do this. We'll find trades. We'll get them. So will you. Everything will be fine. Oh, TGL right back down to the 65 EMA. MLGO's down. Tesla's positive. Crow is silly. FATN is halted up.
Fat N. That was another recent IPO. And by the way, I checked again this morning. Didn't have anything on the IPO front here today, or we would have talked about it in the open.
Mega is saying that NVIDIA is crapping. It's not having a good time. Let me see what it's doing here. Down 6%.
Yeah, so we talked about targets earlier. Was asking about that on the $5.5 billion hit. This was actually down a little bit more in the pre-market. We had talked about particular levels there for NVIDIA, and I think 90. Well, here it was Glenn, right? Glenn, you had. Let me go to it. I marked it off for a reason. Gosh darn it! I knew I marked that off for a reason. Glenn gave us the 0.618 fib level. That's at 98.75. So I know we're going to have to snap through 100. That fib level is between 100 and the bottom of this parallel channel. That's been really, really great. 98.75 might be your next level there on NVDA.
If you draw a horizontal line at 98.75, look at
I did.
Yeah, you can see how the price actions interacted with that level all through the beginning of April. I would absolutely think that that's going to be a support level on the way down here. Don't know if it'll last. But my the levels that I have for this are going to be 105, 113, 117. Those are the 113 levels really been a bit of a pain in the ass for NVIDIA since its recovery.
WIMI opened, went higher, but is now reversing. So far, it's held the VWAP there. 613 is that VWAP. Alexander picked up some TGL here. Okay, so nice, Alex. So you're and a tight stop. So you're looking for a bounce play off this 323. Giddy up, Alexander. I hope you get that. VWAP up there at 361. That would be definitely a first spot to lighten there.
It looks to me like 340 might be an earlier resistance area for TGL. But
WIMI reversed and is going to halt again here. 715. They pulled it off. It did not quite stay up there. They're going to reset this halt now. Big pull.
Well, it's certainly looking like this is going up to 8 to me.
I think this is coming right back to the highs here. I know they pulled it off of that halt fake out there, but I wouldn't be shocked. 715, your intraday high print there. I don't think that's the high. I don't think the high for the day is in. I think that this probably pops it again. It might be volatile until it does that, though.
Meanwhile, Rivian was printed over 12. Ridiculous, but here we are.
Here goes WIMI. Right there's your 715, and there's your new high.
Yep. Got to take
there's
out this.
Your new high.
Got to take out the seller at 728. That might be one of the last resistance areas too.
That was a good call. Amanda here regarding NVIDIA. Good stuff here, by the way. NVIDIA, why is this not working? I don't think we get that level today. I bet we see it tomorrow. It's a short week with low participation. Indeed it is. No one to come in and buy and save it. This is also something that we discussed on Happy Hour recently. I'm not too sure how many buyers are willing to step in front of a 3-day weekend as well, especially with tariff headlines back and forth. By the way, apparently folks from Japan are on their way in to discuss a potential trade deal. Who makes Xanax? That's a good question, Jay. Isn't that Lilly? Pfizer, okay.
Yeah.
Alprazolam is the general drug, which you can get pretty cheap.
The patent expired in 1993, and whilst Pfizer still hold the trade name Xanax, a number of generic variants have since gone to the market.
You guys are saying MP had a momentum candle. That did go. Look at that. That did actually take out the VWAP. How about that? How about Kathy's NB? This is also bouncing off of the VWAP. Maybe this can re-challenge 4 here. NB. This actually not terrible. WIMI still trading here, holding below 7. 726 is that high print there.
Bull coming down to VWAP. Bouncing here, maybe. WIMI is really falling now.
It's going to be a downside halt at 615 if it holds. I still see Prince trading, though, right now. I've got this up in another window because this is a huge mover here. But this is going to halt. This is just continuing to build here. Yep, halted. WIMI. Halted there. 615, halt to the downside. Arrow here asking, is MBOT setting up, wanting to break 260? It sure looks like that. This was the high yesterday. We actually had a pretty good day yesterday in MBOT. This was the high that it couldn't get back over. I understand that we were above this in the pre-market here earlier, but only for a brief period, and it does look like it's trying to go higher than this in the regular session. Let me pull this up on another chart too.
Jay Rex just wanted to find out who made Xanax because he thinks traders are going to need it.
You know what? So that's actually a pretty good joke.
TGL, I mean. Sorry.
Yep, you got it. That's actually a pretty good joke. One of the things I will say, I do think traders are looking forward to this day off on Friday. And I don't just say that because I've got a golf round booked. It from everyone else that I seem to talk to, it does seem like, you know what, maybe a little bit of a break from all this back and forth and this craziness would be pretty palatable. And I don't think that that's, unique to me. So I definitely don't need Xanax, but maybe a day off would help.
This bull move, coming back down to VWAP and then rebounding, was huge. I didn't quite go down to your VWAP, but
it was nice awfully close. 13. That really was nice awfully close.
I think this. I mean, I'm looking to see if this ends up pushing up to 48. We'll see, but really nice move on that one.
It's pronounced Iraq. Okay, perfect. I will get that from now. Sorry, I butchered it, but I appreciate you correcting me. Bro, the Prez is stressing out the market. That I agree with. I definitely think that's the case. And then the market participants get it as the next order there. Market Sniper saying Xanax has been on a rise weeks ago. People are lowering their doses now.
Hey, SDFU Crow, I'm on bull. I'm watching it. It's doing some pretty fun things right now. Let's get a break of that 47.60. That's the high in the regular session here, and make sure you get those. I'm probably gonna, I'd probably have a trailing stop at this point.
Pete saying, but just think of all of the chaos we could create over a 3-day weekend. And you know what? Let's see if we get a chaotic Easter or a relaxing Easter.
And STFU, I did see that comment you made earlier about those two levels being bookends. Great job.
Jim, I agree. Golf is therapeutic. 2x a week minimum. That's pretty good. I'm not quite there yet. But I'm going to do a couple of therapeutic things. Detailing a car will be another therapeutic thing I'll probably do this weekend if the weather is cooperative.
MP, big moves after that rebound off of the 265 EMAs, moving through VWAP, coming up to the session high of 28.32.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a pretty big bounce back move here. How are we doing across the board?
Mira now trading beneath the 65 EMA, not ready to turn around, it seems. Next support area is probably going to be around the 200 EMA.
You said Mira and I typed in Murrah.
Oh,
well, and actually,
well, hey, happy little accident, Bob.
I was going to say Murrah actually just moved through the VWAP, and we do have some levels here that might come into play again. 255. That was just kind of happenstance. Let me go to Mira now, which is what you were trying to talk about.
Yeah, I was saying that one's going, looking like it's going lower. I think it lost $1. Let me go back and see what it did. Nope, not quite, but it's certainly flirting with that $1 level. So Wimmy still halted. Bull kind of pulled back a little bit, but I don't think it's done. Maybe just consolidating for the next move up. When it comes to some stuff like this, though, I think it would do us serve us pretty well if we had stops in place, just in case the trade doesn't work out. As we can see, volume is not holding up here this morning.
BCTX, what a disappointment. This is now a complete round trip from that good news earlier that bagged a bunch of people up at 550, I bet.
Yeah, now it probably is going to turn around and start running hot. I mean, this is look at the staircase it just straight took down.
Yeah.
Now this could. I would not be surprised if the buyers started stepping in here. It would not surprise me in the slightest. That's just how scammy the market can be. Completely shake out the entire move. Let's buy it now.
That wouldn't surprise me either. By the way, UPS calls, these are July calls. We talked about UPS as being in a possible buy zone for long-term additions last night. Looks like we're getting a kind of a shorter swing trade here via the call. Those are the 115 July calls. Wimmy still halted here at 615. Might try a little bit of that M-bot just to see if that happens here. It's just kind of a slow mover, so we'll see. Here's Wimmy. Let's see what happens when this opens. See if I get an indication here. So I see someone bidding at 616, but I don't know how great that is. I trust your guys' level 2 ladder more when the stock's halted, to be honest.
It looks like 52 pickup right now on my ladder. You ever play that
52
game?
pickup? Yeah, I did play that game when my dad was like, do you want to play 52 pickup? And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I want to play any card game we can. He just throws it into the air. He says, pick them up.
Yep.
All 52. And then you have to make sure there are 52.
That's what the when the halted price ladder looks like right now.
52.
Just a whole bunch of numbers.
I haven't had a 52 pickup mention in some time, 13. That makes my day right there. TGL out, Alexander booking
Nice.
gains.
All right, that was a really good move off of the 65 EMA. Really good. And maybe this ends up trying to get back up.
I love it. Hey, I even if it's junk, trade it.
We're getting a mention about bull flag happening with NP. It's saying 1 minute. I can see how that would be forming on the 5. We have only about 4 minutes worth of data on that. So if I go to the 1 minute, you can see that a little bit better. Looks like it's trying to break over this $28 level. Otherwise, may end up just coming right back down to VWAP if it can't. If it does break out of that $28 level, then we're going to have the session highs of 28.32 to move over.
So far, this rollover on SPY, it's held the pre-market low here at 530. Nick is mentioning JB Hunt is tanking down. So really quickly here's a reminder. Here's a reminder of your earnings. JB Hunt reported last night, right? So this is going to be on an earnings move. It's also worth mentioning while we're on this screen, Alcoa tonight. I don't think there's anything huge tonight. Simon's Bank, maybe. Really, the big one's going to be tomorrow, right? Netflix.
Price targets lowered. That's probably what's getting hammered. The analysts are slashing forecasts. That's likely got to be the case here.
Yeah, so this is going to be a transportation shipping. I almost wonder if this is another comment on a tightening economy.
Yep. I would say so.
Yeah.
They still have buy ratings on it, but they're just lowering their price target.
Yeah, it looks like just a price target adjustments here.
Which is, the price targets still, have a good amount of there's a good amount of ways between where it's at now and where some of these price targets are. Still has a good
trades
good
lower
range
after
premium.
reporting a decline in operating income. Interesting. The options priced in a 5.7% move. We got an 8.25% move here. Day after, option buyers ended up winning this. At least put buyers did.
We are back to 2020 prices, October of 2020. After spending, after spending, pretty much, 3 years, almost 4 years in a consolidation channel, finally lost it. Don't know where the support's going to be. We kind of blown through some levels already. Maybe the next one's going to be at about 120. Be just under 120, like 119.75.
That's right in here.
Like 119.75 probably seems to be a little bit more accurate. But we'll see.
Jay, I love this here. Ryan, college kids at Posse Tempo at Santa Cruz this week. A great public course open to the public with the same designer as Augusta. I will put that on my bucket list. I love a good public course. Sorry, 13.
No, it's USAR moving. This is the rare earths from earlier this week.
Yep.
This actually kind of breaking a trend. If you look at a smaller time frame chart, you can go back to the
WIMI is open.
Oh, perfect. You can go back to yesterday in the pre-market and see that we've got a bit of a trend here that we just broke to the upside.
So folks, okay, purple tie. So you guys are talking about Powell's tie, right? Can you guys? What is the deal with the tie color here?
We need a legend, if you will.
Thank you. Hey, we need a legend so that we can know what we can infer from the color of the Fed chair's tie.
Keep an eye on bull. This looks like it's trying to get ready to either make its next move or try to push up to the 48. Volume's really low, but it certainly looks like it's set up here. Just be careful with it because it could go either way still, but it's certainly trying to set up.
The VIX, by the way, back in the 30 handle. So we talked. Oh yeah, 13. I don't know if you saw this. Let me just. I'll be very, very brief. Let me pull it up here. And then I thought this was interesting today. So check this out here real quick. I'll go right back to this. I promise I won't be long here. Jason Gopfert from White Oak Consultancy noted a historical pattern related to the VIX. Whenever the VIX fear index drops from above 50 to the 30 level, the S&P 500 has historically achieved 100% positive gains by year end. However, he points out that in the most recent such cycle, May 2020, the S&P 500 returned 43%. His analysis of similar cycles in 2009, 2, and 1988 also reveal a short-term median loss of 0.7 for the S&P following the week. So he basically sums this up by saying VIX from above 50 to less than 30 triggers a bear killer.
Okay, so when does that bear killer kill the bear? Is it right away?
Well, I think he's the stats that he gives here is by year end. So I think he's looking for the rest of the year here, which gives us what, 6 months?
Okay.
Sorry, 8 months.
So there still could be a lower low put in before we start to see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was getting at. I just wanted to
Yeah.
see if he was trying to call or trying to say, like some have already said, that the bottom is in. I just want to see if that's what he was kind of alluding to, if he thinks the bottom is in or not. It doesn't sound like he thinks it is, but he thinks that regardless of where it goes from here, it's going to ultimately end up closing higher than where we're at now by the end of the year, is what he's saying.
Yassine is asking, I love this question here. Yassine saying, how would you play the Netflix earnings? So I would I would turn this over to the group. I definitely want to know.
Sorry to interrupt you. Webble, $49 print. Sorry.
Oh, good. I'd like to know how you folks would trade Netflix here for earnings. If I wouldn't necessarily trade this for earnings, Yassine, but if I would, I'd be looking at calls. I'd be looking at upside calls. This thing's a monster. Betting against this thing doesn't really seem to work very often. I would probably just put some of that in my favor. I'd probably be looking for some calls here where I could define my risk ahead of time. I don't have a great feeling on this though. I don't have an edge on this. So so to answer your question, I would use contracts to control my risk, and I would be looking for an upside bet. If this ran though into that earnings print, I'd be more skittish or hesitant to do that. Amanda here saying it's hard to play. The volume has the defined risk options are too expensive. So maybe I'd look at a butterfly or something like that to kind of lower that. Nonetheless, Amanda's right.
For me, and I've already kind of praised Netflix about how I think this is a little bit of a recession-proof play along with some other names that we can get into. But the valuation is pretty high right now. It's still carrying a PE ratio of 39, almost 40. I don't know that that's really, a great valuation to have. I mean, especially when all these are valuations and these other big names that are, been really overvalued are starting to come in and correct. I don't think we've really seen that kind of correction happen with Netflix. If you believe, I don't know that I believe that this is, should warrant a PE ratio that high. I don't know that we're going to see, this be a leader for 40 years. I feel like this still needs to get some price adjustment before we rip higher. That's just kind of my thought on it, though. I don't know how you feel about it, but it seems like to me this is still a little bit of a high valuation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It just seems to kind of buck that. Like, I think that we talked a lot about this, maybe not being recession proof or tariff proof, but resilient to those. I still think that's the case. I'd be unsurprised to see this go higher. I still think they're seeing tailwinds from the password sharing crackdown that they've done. And I would imagine that that's going to manifest itself in subscriber numbers. They talked about wanting to get to 410 million subscribers by 2030. So it seems to me that they're still kind of expecting growth here that doesn't seem completely out of control. I mean, I'm with you on the valuation. Like, I totally get that. But this kind of goes back to our conversation about Palantir. Like, Palantir seems like it is totally overvalued. But if it's the AI super play for defense, is it really? Probably not.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we can really compare Netflix to Palantir. Their PE ratio is 181.
Okay. I can't compare the number to the number, but it's still.
I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
feel like it both need to come back in. I think they're just too overvalued.
Couple of things here. Average option says, is Anne Marie here? Anne Marie is on a much needed vacation. That's why you did not see her on Tuesday. And no, you will not see her on, well, we're not going to see any of us on Friday, but she will be back.
Webble over 50, looking for 52. That was.
I'm just going to put that on the screen so we can look at it while I'm cleaning up some of these other comments here. This is a nice move off the bottom.
Yep.
Good stuff to all you bulls. So average options. Anne Marie is not here. She is currently on a vacation. That's why we are light on Anne Marie content. She is coming back. I promise. Hans answering the question. Sorry it took me so long to get to this. Bought some Netflix shares. I'm long into earnings. I know there's another gentleman in our Benzinga ecosystem that is long into earnings. That dovetails to Rustam's question, how to join your trading group. Rustam, I answered you the last 2 days, my man. Join Benzinga's ecosystem, whether it's Pro, Matt Maley's Inner Circle, any of that. That is my trading group. This is also my trading group, and you're already here, so you're halfway home. Yeah. Pete saying the better gamble for earnings is actually AXP. Now, this is not one that I've traded for earnings here. Not as exciting, but a possible 3 to 5% upside or a 3 to 5% possible downside. We didn't get the options pricing in that move, at least not in the news story. Let me see if I can eyeball it here from Thinkorswim.
While you're doing that, Winnie halted the downside again. This is the third red candle here since we had this high of 726 put in. We're going to gap down, it looks like, at the open. But I would think that Winnie might be trying to search around for a bottom after we open. So let's see if we end up getting that here. MACD is indicating that this is trying to roll over here, but if support kicks in around 525, that we might be able to turn this might be able to turn around. So we'll see. I'm not going to take a shot at this yet. I'm just kind of outlining what I'm seeing here with Winnie right now.
Real quick, just getting back to Pete's comment here regarding AXP. So Thinkorswim is telling me that the market makers are pricing in nearly an $11 move. So that's what, a 4.3% move here. So it looks like the options are pricing anywhere between a 4 to a 4.3% move. Now that's napkin math. I'd want to see. Oh, this is going to be. Why don't we have that calculated here? Anyway, I want to see what the calculation is closer to the print. I know it's tomorrow morning, so we really have to make these decisions by today. Which one did you? How are you playing that, Pete? If you are, in fact, playing that.
USAR is still looking like it could end up going higher. It has a high of 1650 today, currently holding above. Well, it was holding above 16, but that trend line that I had mentioned, that's currently providing some support. Interesting here with USAR.
Thinking about it, saying there are no gentlemen here. I would disagree with you. Sweet one here. I agree on Palantir, but I disagree on Netflix, which I think is low-key the Apple of this decade. Wow, sweet one. That is, I think you're probably close to alone on that one.
Well, I guess I'd wonder.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying most people are Netflix bullish.
What's Netflix innovating? I mean, as far as I can tell, they're just making movies, right?
Yeah, I don't know that they're innovating. They do have the best content slate,
TGL?
and they're dominating the streaming wars. Here's TGL. Oh, nice curl. Oh, maybe I can actually get something here. I'm going to watch this VWAP. 362 is the VWAP. We get above it and hold it, or do we find some resistance there?
Some of these names may be trying to come back here. I can see how BCTX might be trying to turn around. Mira, same thing. Looks like Hertz is trying to recapture view. Some of these do look like they're trying to turn around. Meanwhile, Bull is trying to hang out up here and search around for 52. Looks like that's the next resistance area for Webull.
Yeah, okay, sweet one. I'm glad you clarified that. And this is probably my fault. By the way, TGL here, if it can get through this 355, I think it probably tests 362 VWAP. I've got 360 on TradingView here. Watching this one here. A sweet one. I'm sorry, man. That did read tough for me. It's my fault, though. I agree on Palantir, meaning that you're bearish on Palantir. You think that's going to go lower. I disagree on Netflix. when you meant the Apple of the decade, it's going to keep going higher, right? Maybe even split. So you're bullish on Netflix, bearish on Palantir. I had that mixed up. I'm sorry, dude. I appreciate you clearing that up. By the way, 360 came here on TGL. Looks like it backed off that spot. Didn't have enough strength to go through the view app right here. I'd watch this again, though. TGL.
What's the so we were looking for Netflix to do a split because they already have 424 million shares. So even if a 1-for-2.
No,
would put that
sorry.
like to
I'm obviously not doing a good job today. I am not being clear at all. When he is comparing it to Apple of this decade, Apple was such a good stock because it split a few times. I know this is the case because I bought some of it after the first split, and I forced my mom to use some of her retirement money to buy it, and then it went crazy and split again. So I know that is a good thing, and I'm sorry for leaving that context out there. I have no idea if Netflix is going to split, but I do agree with the whole recession-resistant angle here.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree that they're dominating the content platform, and I absolutely agree that they're dominating the streaming platform on top. To me, it seems all signs point up for Netflix.
Yeah, so don't know what the big headwinds are unless there's. I mean, I think we may have seen something of a headwind when we had the writers' strike. So if it has to do with the movie industry, maybe there could be a headwind there. I don't think that the China banning American movies is going to really do anything with Netflix because Netflix isn't even used in China. So. Yeah, it really just kind of begs the question: what headwinds could there be for Netflix? There may be some that we just have not been able to identify yet.
TGL still it's hovering here, but it hasn't moved through that yet. I'll tell you what, we've got kind of a low print here on volume. If this volume expands, I think you're rocketing through that 360, 362 spot.
There's 52 on bull.
52 on bull.
Mm-hmm. Looking for that. I would think that bull turns around or cools off a bit from here.
Jay here saying you don't want to split. Look at NVIDIA, DEC, Chipotle, SMCI, awful after the split. Pete saying the same thing. Yep. I'm tired of the splits. Part of what has destroyed NVIDIA, too much retail in there.
The law of large numbers. That's kind of what I was getting at about double. Even if we did if we doubled the float, that'd be 850 million shares. It's just going to make it harder to move. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a great thing to split NVIDIA. I'm sorry, Netflix, because it's just look what happened to all the other ones that were just getting mentioned. I think that's absolutely correct. All right, what else is looking good here? We got our print on Webble. I think now STFU looking for just under 54. What do you mean?
This was a good move.
What I do STFU because we were looking for 52, but I do think because of the moves that we just got here, we could see some weakening. We've already started this candle already started a bit red. I'm not going to discount your 54 level or 53.99. But it just had a really big move. I think it needs
TGL through VWAP trim partial right here.
Nice.
And hopefully we can now 4 would be my next spot here on TGL. Stop down there 350 just to make sure you don't go red. You guys are also mentioning Hertz. We'll see here if TGL's going. Yeah. Here, I guess I got a lot to check here. Sorry about this. Here's Hertz. See, I went from doing nothing to doing a ton in like the blink of an eye there. Here's your Hertz. This also moved to the VWAP, not playing this one though.
What stock never split? The king, Berkshire Hathaway.
Yep.
Instead, they just have a different series of shares.
Yeah, I mean, but can you really
You're not going to get the A's.
I can't be buying $500,000.
You're not going to get the A's. You'll get the B's.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's the ones I was investing in was the B's.
You like that push there, Crow? We did it. Let's see if we got one more here up to 4.
NB. This one was getting mentioned earlier.
Kathy's been on this from the get-go.
Kathy, tell me, do you like this bounce off the 65 EMA or does it go lower? Tell me what you like.
Well, I tell you what, that TGL, that high move there, almost the 390, and it is still doing a good job here. Sorry, I was looking at NB because you had mentioned that and actually, I don't know. Let's see if the 1 minute. Yeah. So this is what I'm seeing on my broker here. Definitely seeing some expanding volume there on the 1 minute chart. We'll see if this has enough strength. One more move to 440 is the intraday high. That is also at the top of the trend line. And the other thing here is that if we really start to get rolling here, the top of that trend line at 454, 455 ish, that could be something. Just back into its VWAP though.
McDonald's has split 10 times. If it never did, it would be worth $182 a share. WIMI trying to bounce, come back up to VWAP. This might be the beginning of the move that takes it up to 8, where I was thinking we could end up seeing this go. So we'll see. First thing it has to do is recapture VWAP though.
BKNG never split. Booking.
Look at the size of the price. Yeah, I can tell that thing never split. Maybe 620. Yeah, that's about where it's at. We're looking for this thing to continue to move up. Looks like USAR is about to make its next move up. Very slow moving USAR, but it's got a nice setup here. It looks like it's trying to go higher than 1650. So we'll see. So yeah, sorry STFU about my comments with Bull. It kind of is doing what I was thinking it's going to do, but still don't think that it's quite done. It may end up going higher today, but I think it just needed to cool off a bit. SBEV, that's actually starting to turn around, coming up to its 65 EMA. TGL with a nice move through VWAP, still hanging out up there, but running into a little bit of a seller at 380, just took them out. Could get reloaded here, so be careful. Looking for 4 TGL.
Yep, exactly. Kathy, out there, NB 387.
All right. Well done on your trade.
This now, TGL volume is still building here. I don't think this is done yet.
Kathy, I'm just curious. Are you going to try and reload NB? Do you think there's more left here, or is this done for the day? USAR. So here we go. Approaching 1650. Low volume, but the spread is helping lift it. Let's see if we can get a break over 1650. WIMI coming down away from its VWAP. We'll see what happens. Hertz now trading over its VWAP. You might have a little bit of a different print. Mira looks like it's also trying to recover. What does it 1 minute look like? Does this kind of looks like on the 1 minute we may have an inverse head and shoulders with Mira.
Yeah, you're right here. Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Let's see if that ends up resolving. We would need to see a move over 110 to get a good resolution of this inverse head and shoulders.
I'm going to move my stop up here to VWAP on TGL and just finish that off if it comes back in.
Hell yeah, you nailed one.
Now I can forget about it. Well, also the stop there, it was 3 cents below entry. Now it's above entry, and it already sold chunk into the huge move or the recent move. So we're all right there, and I can actually take it off the screen and focus on what you guys are trading. Finally, I did something.
STFU, are you just referring to like today's price action, or is there a larger, like is this going to be on the daily or a smaller time frame? I'll draw it. Just tell me what you need me to do. And hey, Kathy, I think you did great. That's some good discipline there. Kawasaki unveils Corleo at Expo 2025. Oh, you know what? I saw a video of that a couple of days ago. It's a concept. I don't know that it works, but they had a concept video out of that, and I was like, this thing is awesome. It's like riding.
So it's a robot?
Yeah, it's like.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, here I can probably even find the video of it. But it's like I don't even want
I tried to type in Corleo and my autocorrect made it Corleone. So I did find it here. This is it, right? Kawasaki's Corleo concept unveiled.
Yeah, here's
So it's another dog robot. This one looks mean though.
It's one that you ride.
Oh my.
You ride this. So it's like you're riding, I guess for the since we've had recent headlines about it, it's kind of like you're riding a dire wolf.
Oh God. Who wants a dire wolf robot? That should have been the poll question for the day.
Raise both hands.
Stopped on a TGL on the move back down. We can dust our hands off. We're done. I mean, this is a bridge too far for me, I think.
Hey,
you're riding a mechanical goat. Optimus. Yeah. Not Optimus Prime, it's Optimus.
If Optimus had a dog, this would be it. I mean, look at I posted a video in chat. If you pull that up, you can see what it looks like with somebody riding it. I have to say, I mean, the part that sold me on it was the running downhill. I was like, hell yes.
Slack it to me because if I click on it, it just highlights your comment. I can't actually click your link. So just Slack it to me and I'll check it out.
Okay, gotcha.
But there you go. Horse dog.
Horse dog. Kawasaki horse dog. Let's
go. Man, is that funny.
That's going to be, that's a new buzzword, horse dog.
TGL might be done here. MP still holding higher here at 28. USAR has taken another leg up here. I know you folks said that this was a little bit slower, but this now on its third leg higher here this morning. APM is lower. We took a look at United Airlines. That looked like that might be trading back up after coming in a little bit.
OST finished. That's all to the downside. New low of the session and pre-market. Webel is coming in as well. STFU, if you mentioned how I'm supposed to draw this this channel, I must have missed it. 1 minute on the 1 minute chart. Okay. I think I see what you're talking about here. And yeah, that's so, you're right. It is a strong uptrend, but this isn't going to last all day. And if you look at the MACD, it's already starting to show signs that this could be rolling over. We break this trend line here. We're coming down to VWAP and possibly even losing that. But I still think that there could be some more upside in this. It just has to hold that trend line. And we're coming down to it. So you could be right. USAR is pushing. Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Omex and Hollow, your two penny stocks that are pushing towards the highs at the moment. Here's WIMI. Looks like it's kind of consolidating a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. Here's USAR trying for 17.
TGL recaptured its VWAP. I'm just going to be done with this for now. At least I got one of them in there. How's Webull doing?
That's the one we were just kind of talking about. That's kind of coming down to a trend line. Like if you draw a trend from the bottom of the open up through the lows that we've had here today, that's you still have the Kawasaki on the screen.
Oh, geez, for heaven, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you.
That's all good. It's looking like we're coming down to test that trend line. I just don't like the way the MACD looks right now in the 5 minute because it hasn't crossed, but it is indicating that it's starting to curl and potentially roll over here. So if we lose this trend line, then I'm pretty certain the MACD is going to cross and we're going to start trading lower with this. How low? Don't know. Maybe down to the 200 EMA, which puts it about $43.
Webull.
MP.
As he is saying. Webull.
Bull. MP.
Well done.
MP, this one's trying to push over the 20 or push higher into the $28 handle. This has been resistance for a good portion of the morning. Only have a handful of prints above 28. So if we can take out 28.32, which is the session high, this may end up going higher. If we look to the left here, that would be, I would say maybe 28.60 could be the next resistance area. Then you really get into a lot of consolidation around 29.30.
Okay, what else we got? What else do we got out here? BCTX, that was really kind of a disappointment here today.
Is Weeble, that's a good one. STFU, is this kind of what you're looking at here right now? This do you think we're starting to reverse? It's starting to look like we could. Just going to be careful with this one. Trend line respected. Let's go. So I guess that's a yes. Well, let's just see what happens here. I would like the volume to be better. I hate the way the MACD, hate such a strong word. I dislike the way the MACD is looking. It doesn't mean it couldn't reverse and go higher like you're looking for. I think I'm just going to kind of wait and see what we get. What about maybe be another WTF? Probably right about that, but I think Bull is a little bit more of a real company than WTF.
James, you're saying it's looking like we might end up about flat by the end of the day. If that's the case, SPY's going to have to do some work here today. We're still down a percent. We'd have to climb back to this 537. We need 6 points here on the SPY.
MP looking better. It's got to get through some of these sellers at 28.20, but it's moving.
Okay, real quick here. We are just a schedule here for today. We are going to be moving over to an all access here any minute. After that, we've got story trading. So we're going to throw it back here. I'll take you over to story trading. And then after story trading, we've got futures fever. And then remember, we're also carrying the Powell presser at 1:30 today. So we've got full slate of content for you here today. We are going to be moving over to Dan here in just about a minute.
Oh, there we go. We'll just call it Huibo. Like Huwit? Huibo. I'm gonna.
Hey, Lion, you're going hiking with your son. That sounds like a heck of a day. Well done. Enjoy that.
Yeah, get those gains.
Get those gains. I tell you what, a good mountain hike would be something else to do here today. That sounds like a great idea.
MP at the high a day.
Okay. 13, we're going to toss it over to Dan. Why don't you give us your closing thoughts here for the day?
Well, I think that's about right. We might just have a bit of a slow day, but you know what? Let's see what the folks coming up have to say about it, because I really don't have a great opinion on it. I'm just going to trade what I see, and that's about all there is to it. But hopefully, story trading, Dan will be able to give you some better insight than I can for today. And other than that, folks, great job trading, getting those monies. We'll come back here tomorrow. We'll do it again. We'll have a great time. I'll see you then, folks. Take care.
All right. Take care, 13. Really good stuff here today. And again, we'll be back to close the week out strong for our Synthetic Friday tomorrow. But right now, we welcome on Dan Leach. Dan, good morning. I got to ask you, what happened to your Red Wings going to the playoffs? What happened?
Same thing that happened to your Blackhawks. They suck.
Well, no, the Blackhawks are rebuilding. The Red Wings better not be if they got guys like Kane and Brinkett. So same thing.
We've talked about this before, and full disclosure, obviously, I've covered the Wings, been a fan forever.
Yeah,
it's not working, man. I love Steve Yzerman. They got great young talent. Obviously, second coach in 1 year. I don't know what the issue is. These guys can't play together. And if they don't figure this, they should have made the playoffs last year.
I agree. This year and last year, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, this is hockey town, but it feels more like depressed town. It's stupid, man. But I'm never going to give up hope, much like my friendship with you.
That's right. Never give that up, nor give up the hope. We're glass half full type people. We do that every single day. Dan, what do you got coming up here on All Access?
Super fired up. Got the CEO and executive director of Pasofino Gold Limited, Brett Richards, man. He's going to have a lot of fun with me coming up.
Okay, take it away, Dan. All Access starts right now.
Thanks so much, Rye Guy. And we got Zingers. Welcome to All Access. I got a fantastic guest for you, as I mentioned, with Ryan. Brett Richards, the CEO and executive director of Pasofino Gold Limited. The TSXV ticker is VEIN. He is joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome in the CEO and executive director of Pasofino Gold Limited, Brett Richards. Wonderful to be with you today, Brett.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
The dream is alive. Well, let's start out, if we can, and give an overview of Pasofino for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, we had the Dugbe Gold Project in Liberia, and it has been kind of in our portfolio for a number of years. And prior to that, Hummingbird Resources portfolio. We completed a feasibility study in 2022, and we're about to update it. So, I heard 13 say earlier that it's going to be a quiet day. Take a look at the gold price, up 3% today, $3,300 all-time high today. Great place to be in.
Yeah, it's been crazy watching gold lately. I mean, just an incredible, safe asset that people are loving. And let's talk about that Dubé Gold project. How large is it, and what kind of mineral concentration is there, Brett?
Yeah, so we have over 2,000 square kilometers of land package in Liberia, and Liberia is a extremely strong, very stable democracy, not like some of the other countries in West Africa. But we have almost 4 million ounces, 3.3 million ounces of that in our feasibility study at 1.37 grams per ton. This is a real project, and it's getting more exciting by the day. And happy to walk you through the economics of what we did in 2022. But when we update this, it's only going to get better.
It definitely will. And listen, as you've been talking about, a lot has been happening in the last months. Obviously, the acquisition of Hummingbird by Nikeo Resources Corporation. Can you walk us through that deal and what it means for Pasofino shareholders?
Yeah, absolutely. So Nyoko Resources acquired Hummingbird. They are our majority shareholder. They own 50.8%. And we just came into a cooperation and support agreement with them, whereby for the next 18 months, our strategy is completely aligned with them. They have committed to funding their pro rata share for the next 18 months. And we are going to update this feasibility study for a couple of reasons. The gold price used back when it was done in 2022 was $1,600. And as I said earlier, it's $3,300 today. So that in itself is going to really amp up the economics of this project.
Yeah, Brett, I remember it was obviously a while ago, but I sold a couple ounces of gold for $800 an ounce. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Let's talk about what that cooperation with Hummingbird and Nyoko Resource will look like.
Yeah, so for the next 18 months, we have agreed with them that they will work side by side with us. Nobody has board control, whether it's Nyoko or whether it's the former directors of Pasofino. But we're all collaborating together. Strategically, we're aligned. Funding-wise, we're aligned. And I think over the next 18 months, my job is to get as many new eyes on this story as possible. Let people know that this is one of the most undervalued gold projects on the planet today. $400 million capex, $1,000 all-in sustaining costs, and 6 times NPV post-tax after at this gold price today. So you talk $2.5 billion post-tax NPV on a $400 million capex project. Pretty exciting stuff for the market.
Yeah, I don't know how that can't fire you up. It's getting me fired up. Also, Brian, I know as part of that deal, Pasofino is going to raise funds to update the Dugbe Gold Project feasibility study. How much will you need to raise, and how long do you expect the update to take?
So I expect the update to take about 12 months. We do need to do some drilling. These are all positives. The drilling we need to do is only going to enhance the size of the resource. It's only going to enhance the economics of the new feasibility study we're going to do. We are going to look at some power alternatives. We are going to look at, optimizing a new mine plan based on using different gold prices. So from that standpoint, yeah, we're going to be sitting here next year talking about getting ready to project finance and getting ready to build this. And that's going to be fairly exciting. From the financing standpoint, Nyoko has agreed to fund up to $10 million of their share being half, and $15 million next year. So we have their commitment to actually do more than what we need to, which leaves no overhang anymore. And we're trading circa $10 an ounce today. It is, as I said, pretty undervalued in these markets.
And Brett obviously talked about gold being on that rocket ship. I watch it every day. It's amazing to watch this go where it's at. It's up nearly 40% in the last year. This is a big question though, $40 million question. Do you see that trend continuing?
I think the geopolitical instability, the tariff wars, and all things going on kind of in between the US and the world and other things happening in the world, investors have said, I don't know an asset class that I can get into that I'm going to be protected by all this. So what they're doing is saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to get into gold. And you get central banks continuing to buy gold at the same time as you've got investors flocking to it. It's why we've powered up 24% so far this year and 27% last year. So I think that trend is going to continue. Goldman Sachs just came out and put a $4,000 gold price marker on for 2025. That is going to raise the consensus. And we're seeing consensus pricing coming in at 3,800 for the balance of 2025. So gold is strong. We are in the strongest bull market I have seen in 25 years of being in the gold business. Nothing like this. The difference this time is that gold equities are still trading on a per ounce basis versus the quality of the asset as they were 20 years ago. We still get, we should be getting $20 for an inferred ounce, $50 for M&I, and $180 for inferred or for reserves, and we're getting nowhere near that. So the decoupling from the gold valuation of equities to the gold price also has to bolster this bull run for gold exposure.
It's definitely an amazing time to get involved and be involved with gold. Brett, it's always great seeing you. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Dan, thanks for having me on. Look forward to the next time.
Can't wait for it. That was the CEO and executive director of Pasofino Gold Limited, the great Brett Richards. Their TSXV ticker is VEIN. Now let's send it back to the man who helped dream up the legendary Coachella Music Festival on a paper napkin in 1995, the great Ryan Faluna.
I don't even know what the hell you just said, but it sounds like it came from the heart, so we'll go with it. Real quick question.
I said the truth. You helped found Coachella, one of the great music festivals, which you got to take me to and give me a VIP pass next
Dan, I don't even know what the hell Coachella is.
How can you not know?
I know.
Just played there. Lady Gaga. Paris Hilton goes with the Kardashians.
Who are those folks? Okay, all jokes aside here, really quickly, if you could do one or two things to fix the Red Wings, what would they be?
I'd find another team to be a fan. I'm kidding.
I was going to say, there's no way.
I would find the right goaltender because I don't think we have it right now.
Gotcha.
And I would figure out we have to move some of the young players for the right assets. And I mean, you can't get rid of Dylan Larkin right now. You can't get rid of Lucas Raymond. But you've got to move some of these young guys and think about the future because there's too many good young players that other teams want that aren't gelling together. So get multiple future stars down the road.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. The Hawks did that with Dylan Strome. Didn't work in Chicago. Looks like it sure did work when he moved on to Washington. So I think that's a pretty good spot. Okay, Dan, we'll see if that's what they do. Thanks very much. Good stuff there on All Access.
Thank you. Next season, you're taking me to a Wings Blackhawks game in Chicago with a hot dog.
You got it. We'll also get a Maxwell Street Polish while we're down there. That is Dan Leach, everybody. His departure leaves room for the Story Trading folk. Let's check in with them and see how they're doing here. They're all in the back. We bring on Ben. We bring on Brett. Right? We bring on the Godfather. Hello, Ben. How are you? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I am loaded up on caffeine, if you couldn't tell. What do you got going for us here today?
What I got going for you, it is Chop City, man.
You got that right.
I mean, who knows what the hell's going to happen? This morning was one of my hardest pre-market shows I've done in a long time in terms of, no real conviction on direction for the market with like so many different catalysts, like bad news in China and Hong Kong, good news out of Japan and India, bad news with NVIDIA, gold blowing up, Powell speaking at 1:30 today, 245% on China. Like, anything can happen right now. Literally, it's just like crazy. So, I didn't really have strong conviction today. It's been an unconvicted day for me, Ryan.
I totally get it. I was almost felt like I was fighting my own convictions here this morning. I ended up scalping some piece of junk. Not a whole lot to go off other than lunch money, but okay. Have a good one. Hopefully you guys find something better here. We'll see you in a little bit.
All right. I'll see you. All right. Rhett, the Godfather. How you guys doing here this morning? Let's just quickly look at the cues. Going to repeat what I said on our pre-market show here for our members this morning. I always like to pull back to the 200-week moving average. As I've been saying for a long time, I view this as the bull support line. You could drop all the way down there, and it's not the end of the world. In fact, I think that'll be a buying opportunity. So I think because of that, there is the potential over earnings season next 2 weeks that we make a move over to those levels. That's possible. But I mean, is it likely? I don't know. I mean, are we going to get a deal out of Japan later today? I don't know. Netflix earnings sounds like it's going to be good, so maybe that'll save the day on QQQ at least for a while. So, I'll leave it at that on my predictions or non-prediction on QQQ. What do you guys think?
Well, I think a corresponding level on the S&P, as we talked about, is this sort of 4,800 to 5,000 level. And again, looking at this from a fundamental standpoint, my sort of North Star is that earnings last year were 243 on the S&P. If you put a 20 times multiple on that, you're at 4,800. So that assumes no earnings growth in 25 over 24. That's obviously not consensus. Consensus right now is somewhere around 260, which puts you around 5,200. Either way, the market's fully valued at these levels. So if you go into earnings season, you don't get a lot of guidance. You get some kitchen sinking of quarters for, with the cover of tariffs. Valuations come down when multiples shrink, and multiples shrink when guidance disappears. And if earnings get revised down, it's possible, right, that the market could, test those levels. I think for conviction in terms of long-term buys, that's where you really want to back up the truck. That's where it points to me. I think, what you're talking about makes a little more sense in terms of near-term sentiment-driven things. Clearly, the direction of the tariff talk is going to change that. And, we could trade all the way up to 5,700 again, on the next set of positive news or some view that
that's your range.
There's an off-ramp out of this, right?
Yeah, it's a 460 to 560, like 100-point range on the SPY. That's exactly the world we're living in right now. So, I basically agree with all that. Yeah, earnings, lack of guidance or earnings revisions, whatever, can bring us down to 460. That's a long-term buy. Just reiterating what you said, we're both saying the same thing. In the meantime, you get this wild chop zone based on tariff news. So, don't have a lot of near-term. This is a unpredictable market for now. Like, I went through a 2-week period where I predicted SPY incredibly well, because it was directional. I saw that direction. I saw the big catalyst, and we had a directional move. Now it's not a directional move. Now we're kind of in this chop zone that's really dependent on catalysts, and you just don't know what the next catalyst is going to be or the exact timing of the catalyst. So it's a very hard market right now as we head into earnings season.
My bias is that we come out of this with some good news next.
I think so too. That's what it feels like. It feels like something might be cooking with Japan maybe next. I don't know.
Yeah, you got Japan, you got India, you got Israel, although it's small. But good news will build. And does it set a precedent if we get a trade deal for some of the others and that gets extrapolated in the market? Probably, right? So, but look, you're absolutely right. In the meantime, you've got a communist dictator and a megalomaniac, basically taking the world economy for hostage, while they, have their bun fight. So, what are you supposed to do? We're all just caught in the middle here.
Yeah. All right, cool. Unbelievable moves in gold. I know you've been all over gold. I did increase my gold position, my retirement account, pretty significantly last week. So nice pop there. I saw you put a post in the Discord, all out of NUG-T. Was that a day trade? I missed that, or is that your long term?
No, that was my last remaining hedge, actually.
Okay.
And just with the gains. Look, do I think gold could probably extend from here? Sure. But going, to what I just mentioned in terms of what I think happens in the next near term, I took that position off. I had a huge gain there.
Nice day to sell NUG-T. Look at that closed green candle. That's often a reversal candle right there.
I added to my short VIX position with those proceeds. So, I'm really taking the standpoint that we are going to see an off ramp that takes sentiment a little bit higher out of some of this tariff stuff. I think the next shoe to drop is a tariff deal of some sort or another. But again, that's a short-term trade. Obviously, trading VIX is always very short-term.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That's the macro. Rhett, did you want to add anything on the macro?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say right now, for my opinion on it, I'm sitting on the sidelines for the macro, just waiting to see where these headlines and everything goes with these deals with Japan and Powell coming in at, I think, 1:30 today, I believe. So just sitting on the sidelines and waiting to see what happens and unfolds in the market until then.
That's very smart. You've done well sitting on the sidelines since I threw up that caution flag. about 6 to 8 weeks ago. Like he had the right idea, moving pretty much to old cash and just day trading. So good on you there.
It's more important when you trade than what you trade,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Rhett certainly has embodied that. We can all take a lesson from it.
All right, let's head on over real quick. ERs tomorrow. Just a word of caution: Netflix earnings is after the close tomorrow, but the markets close on Friday. So if you were looking to, play weekly calls like a bet on ER, you're not going to get that with an expiry this week because the markets close on Friday. So just be careful about that. UL, nothing too. I don't know. Were you playing any of these earnings at all, or thoughts on IBKR, ASML, UAL?
I'm not playing any earnings. No. I don't think I have an edge on any of those specific names. And again, it's this kind of market where there's tug of war, right? The shorts have all but covered, but there's no long buying at all either.
What about this Netflix? We covered Netflix yesterday morning. Had a big open green candle because of a report coming out. I think it was the Wall Street Journal from an internal meeting at Netflix saying that they're aiming for a $1 trillion market cap, and they think they can, grow nicely even in a recessionary environment as people maybe pull back on the theaters and watch more at home. What are your thoughts on that heading into earnings? Is this something that's a conventional wisdom right now? Is that they're recession and tariff proof? Do you buy that?
I'm not sure. In this case, I'm kind of actually looking at it, and you'll be mystified to hear me say that, but I'm kind of looking at it more from a technical side than a fundamental side. And I see that big gap up when they had the last earnings report, and that was off this 840 level. And now that was your starting point going into the earnings, and you had this nice pop. Now we're starting from that level in a more difficult market where multiples across the board have shrunk. I don't follow the company close enough to have a good read on whether the earnings are going to blow away like they did that report or not, which is why I'm not playing it, because I just don't have the conviction. I haven't done the work, and so this is where I tend to stand on the sidelines. And again, it's just a matter of not being close enough to the situation.
I will say this. I will say what I said on the show this morning. Very often, Netflix is the first big cap tech to report, and very often it's a bellwether in terms of consumer sentiment that sets the direction of, and it sets not only the direction, but it sets the backdrop and the context for understanding the next set of earnings reports to come out in the following weeks. I've actually had a lot of success betting on like a QQQ move over a swing period, depending if Netflix had bad earnings or good earnings. I don't know that that'll happen this time though, because it is being kind of framed in the Wall Street world right now as a unique thing that is recession or tariff resistant. So people may not extrapolate if they do happen to have a good report or good guidance. May not be extrapolated. I'm more concerned about what's happening in NVIDIA and tech stocks and semi stocks on the impact they can have on Q than Netflix typically has on setting the tone for earnings season. I don't think it's going to have that same power this time. So that's something to think about. Let's head on over to the picks that I had on the top of my list. I will say I totally missed out on this rare earth thing here. I was away, when this kicked off the last 3 days, so I wasn't able to trade these big pops. This is a daily chart you're looking at on UAMY. We got MP here, USAR just absolutely exploded. I missed this because I was away. And then today, further news on this with the Trump administration saying they want to investigate, the importance of importing critical minerals or something like that. I've totally missed this. I didn't want to chase this morning. Is there, Godfather, you've been more on top of this more than me. Is there still an opportunity in this sector, or is it too late, you think?
Look, these are all trades. If you look at these names from fundamental standpoint, for the most part, they all need money. Certainly that's the case in TMC. It's certainly the case in USAR. These are long lead time, high capex projects. A lot of these things, critical metals, etc. You're talking about $500 million plus capex, and 10-year plus lead time. So you're making the bet that something good doesn't happen with China in
right,
that
exactly.
time. So
that's why I haven't played them myself.
Yeah, it's a sentiment thing. Look, I played the TMC, and I think we got a little bit lucky with timing, but then I put my fundamental hat on and I dug in and I'm like, oh my God, this is a dog's breakfast. These guys need cash within the quarter.
Wow.
And, good management teams will be opportunistic in markets like this. So, don't be surprised to see an issue out of TMC. Don't be surprised to see one out of USAR as well. So, look, they're enjoy the party, but stand close to the door type stocks. You trade them intraday or swing, at the most. And, unless you want to scare yourself, don't even look at the fundamentals.
So there are
The only
two,
one that's got
however. Yeah, go
any
ahead.
critical mass in terms of balance sheet and staying power and all the rest of it that's U.S. listing centric is MP. I know several guys in our community are closer to this group and have mentioned a number of cross-listed Aussie stocks. I think you just had one up there, the LYSDY. They are
Yeah, I've heard
they
bad
are
things
actually in
about.
production. So yeah, you can buy these, but of course, you're trading a liquid ADR, so keep that in mind.
Right. Yeah, I've heard bad things about MP in terms of the reliance on China, like behind the scenes, like China really owns them, or they have some sort of deal where all the stuff has to go to China, or I don't know. There's some sort of China connection still with MP. I haven't looked into myself, but I hear it a lot from a lot of reliable people. So that's why I've avoided MP personally. And this one was LYSDY. Someone on our Discord mentioned it this morning. Linus apparently they have a 5% of global production, the biggest one outside of China. That it's not like in the mining stage. I mean, in the exploratory stage, they're actually mining. So this is at the top of my list, LYSDY, and then UAMY. Interesting because they also are at the production level for antimony. This was alerted way back very early on at like $1 or under $1 when all this first started coming out many months ago. We nailed it back then in our Discord, but I missed this most recent move. But this one just keeps going up every day relentlessly. And I think maybe better than me, Godfather. I think unlike the others, they're actually producing a rare earth mineral now instead of just in the exploratory stage. Is that correct?
So I don't know. I'm not that familiar with UAMY, but I will say, look, if you're going to do something that extends beyond a day, or swing trading a couple of days in these names, and you like this theme going forward, and you want to have exposure to all of these international names, there is an ETF for you. It's called REMX. Van Eck has a rare earth metals ETF.
Is that the same as REEMF in the States? I have that here. REEMF, is that the one?
No. REMX is the Van Eck Rare Earth and Strategic Metals ETF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
let me add
So,
that. I didn't have that.
Yeah. So this is one where you could park yourself if you think this is going to be longer term. My view is that, it's going to trade in an inverse correlation to, what happens with the negotiations with China.
I agree
Things
with
start to thaw there. People are going to
Yep.
flee these names because it's
Yep.
a lot of hot money.
Yep.
And it's not; these aren't durable, right? I can't make a fundamental case for any of these names, and maybe there is for names like LY, SDY,
Right.
and some of these others. But again, it's not a sector that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
Mining is a difficult thing.
Yep. All right.
Mining is even more difficult.
Let's move on here to my top list, which are stocks we're focused on more near term. I'll just focus on the ones I was talking about this morning, then I'll turn it over to you. So I'll say yesterday was a great day for one of my picks, Salem Media, SALM. This one here, Trump Jr. and Lara Trump, I believe. It's like a 30% stake. The thing was up like 300% yesterday. This is a brand I'm very familiar with. Salem Media is a huge media brand in the conservative world, just as Newsmax is, NMAX, which you all know what happened with Newsmax. So I wasn't surprised to see, there you go, Newsmax. I wasn't surprised to see yesterday Salem Media up that 300%. I was in it right from the opening bell at 95 cents, sold at 195, but I'm back in today. I'm looking at this pullback, and I think we're going to have another leg up. The market cap's only 40 million. The biggest problem with this, it's a pink sheet, and there's no after hours trading, and it's not available on Webull. It's not available on Robinhood. So that takes a lot of the liquidity and the excitement, and the traders just aren't there as much. So it's a little bit slow and a little bit boring. But I'm back in this today here in this 140 level. I'm looking for a second leg up. I don't know a lot about the fundamentals on SALM, but to me, there's just a disconnect between the ubiquity of this brand in, again, conservative media at just 40 million, and apparently they've paid all their long-term debt off recently. Versus the brand awareness and their market share, with the radio stations having everything, it's there's a disconnect there. And with this investment with Trump Jr., I think you're going to have a second leg up. I actually think we can make a move towards $3. If you look at the monthly candles, I think you can make a move towards $3. But I don't know anyone who's done a fundamental analysis on this yet. I've seen people on social media be like, whoa, look at that revenue. They have no debt apparently now. This thing could be $5, $6, $7, $8. I've seen people making that back of the napkin math assessments, but it's always much more complicated than that, as the Godfather will tell you. Godfather knows you have to dig into the filings to really know what's going on, especially if these micro caps have some skeletons and stuff usually. But anyway, did you look into this at all, Godfather?
No, I have not looked at Salem again, simply because it's OTC.
It's not very liquid. Do you have access to that in Canada to trade these?
Of
OTC?
course, yeah, I can play OTC, but I sort of have an unwritten rule like you do with China that I don't go there.
Cool.
The disclosure for fundamental analysis, the disclosures just aren't up to snuff.
Okay, just got an alert from the chat there that ESAR is going up again. All right, let's go back. So that was my big play yesterday that worked out. Salem, I'm back in it. Really focused on it today. A couple other ones. Look, I'm actually focused on some of these micro caps. In an environment like this, I get scared of large caps because they move, more together, more correlated with what happens with QQQ. And it's like an individual catalyst might not really impact it. So I tend to shy away from large caps and tend to go towards the micro caps in situations like this. So that's why you see these micro caps on the board. We have another one, Rich Tech Robotics announced a intent to quadruple the size of their factory space and their headquarters. So that's a good sign in a hot robotics sector right now because of onshoring, building factories and stuff. So in the United States, so I'm up on that just a little bit this morning. I was looking maybe for a move to 250, and we'll see. So still playing Rich Tech Robotics just for the day, just for day trade on that one. And then I will mention SenesTech holding up pretty well after we had a chat with the CEO yesterday. Had a surprise announcement when we talked to him that they're expanding now to San Francisco in terms of their pilot program. High risk, high reward. This thing can be down 50% by the end of the year, or it could be up 3, 4, 5 times, depending on the timing of if they get a big contract in before they need to raise money again. So very interesting story there with SenesTech. So a bunch of microcaps on my board, along with ISRLW. Look at that bid, 130,000 bid. So this one is a SPAC waiting to complete their deal. It's a drone delivery company in Israel that they're looking to merge with. And these warrants, there's a rumor out there that the company would like to retire these warrants at 50 cents together with the closing of the deal. That's just the stuff I heard through the grapevine many months ago. Who knows if that turns out to be true or not, but it's worked out for us so far. And the last few days, there's been a strong bid in it. So something may be going on with ISRLW. And then we turn it over. Oh, before I give it to you on Bull, I will mention Lyft this morning had some good news. I think it was good news the way I read it. They are buying a taxi hailing company in Europe for $197 million from BMW and Mercedes, I think it was. No, whoever it is, I don't see it now. But in any case, that's going to increase their bookings by over $1 billion. And then on the same morning, we get Oppenheimer coming out with the outperform rating and a $15 price target. So I actually got, shaken out of this in the morning. But then I came back in with call options, $11 calls expiring next week. So we'll see, bouncing back strongly. So if either of you have any thoughts on any of those stocks, go ahead. And then if not, we'll move on over to the Godfather, especially want to hear from Bull about with that. Anything on those stocks?
No, I'm not involved in either of those. So, but I'm happy to chat on Bull a little bit here.
Okay, so let's head on over to Bull. By the way, someone's asking about Trug. I finally sold all out of Trug today. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is, 25 cents. I sold out last night and this morning. They had earnings, but there was no press release, which, there was a screenshot going around last night that someone was talking to IR about when the earnings will come out. And it's like, yeah, it's coming out soon. It should be out tonight because their deadline was last night. Like, I don't know exactly when Edgar will put it up. Their IR guy says, I should have known right then that if that's the way they're disseminating earnings, it's not going to be great. They're not putting a press release out. But anyway, I don't like the earnings report. The 10K is way too complicated for me to figure out. There's stuff going on with some toxic financing that I've known about for a while, but I was hoping that would be, taken care of and they'd flip to strong profitability. But there was a particular paragraph in the 10K that kept me away, and they're basically guiding that they're going to continue losing a lot of money this year for the balance of 2025, and they're going to need to raise money again. It was something like that, and I'm like, that's it, I'm out. So sorry, Trug didn't work out. All right, that's that. All right, let's head on over to Bull. Now, I was away. I wasn't away. I was sort of away. I was traveling. Friday was a travel day for me, and I just wasn't focused on the market. I got to tell you, we got that early heads up from Ross in our Discord when this thing was like $10. Went all the way up to 80. I missed all the fun. You guys had all the fun while I was away. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So again, on the 10th, they did this business combination with the SPAC, and Webull finally went public. This is something that's been in the works for over 2 years. So I immediately took to comparing this to its comps, which of course are Schwab, Interactive Brokers, and Hood. This is a slightly smaller company, but if you look at it, and I'm not going to give away where the valuation anchor sits, but in our Discord, we've put that out, and I've updated it and sent out updates, as the price moves around. But so we have an idea of where Bull should trade relative to those other names. But the real opportunity here is not in Bull itself, but in these warrants. Yeah, go ahead, Rhett.
Quick question. Sorry to cut you guys off. I think news just came out or something
On what?
I'm not too sure. The indices are moving up.
Oh, wow. That's big.
Spiking.
That's a big
So-
pop. I don't know. Probably. Let us know if you find out. Maybe something in Japan or something like that. Let us know. All right. Sorry.
So
go
as
ahead.
part of the business combination, those that played on the spike received, or on the pipe, pardon me, received Bull Z, which are incentive warrants, which have a ratchet down clause, but that's not really in play here. The bottom line is they are exercisable at $10 at this point. There are also the Bull warrants, which are the legacy SPAC warrants, which are 5-year $11.50 strike warrants. So look, you can do the simple math, and with Bull trading at let's see, we're selling off here at the moment, but let me just put it on my spreadsheet. So we're 44.30. So right now the intrinsic value on Bull W is 32.80. The intrinsic value on Bull Z is 34.30, and obviously they're trading at like a tenth of those prices. Why is that? Well, because there is a 30-day restriction on exercising those warrants. So on the 12th of May, which is the Monday that follows the 10th of May, which is the expiration of that 30-day period, you will be able to buy the listed warrants and exercise them. So that spread, that arbitrage, if you will, which can't actually be arbed, because right now you can't buy the listed warrant and exercise and deliver those shares against a short position. And right now it's difficult even to short Bull. So this is going to change, and there's several things that are going to change that will narrow the spread. Number one, it's kind of like the reverse of a real option where time value erodes your premium. You got a countdown now that gets shorter and shorter to May 10th. So as long as the share price of Bull is above the warrant strike prices, that's your intrinsic value. You can add 5 years worth of time value to that if you don't think that the stock will trade with a VWAP of $18 or more for 20 of 30 days. And I know it sounds confusing, but essentially the other key provision in these warrants is that, like most of these warrants, the company can call them or redeem them early if those conditions are precedent. So I'm always just talking I'm assuming that's going to happen at some point, given where the share price is. So let's just talk in terms of intrinsic value. So what's going to happen? That time period to where you can actually put on this trade and people can actually hedge it, and every hedge fund will do it because it's free money. That is shrinking. The other thing that's going to happen probably next week, given the timing.
So you're saying they'll just short, just to translate, they would just short bull and go long the warrants? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, you would arb out the spread, right? To the extent that you can short bull, you do that, and you buy the warrants, and you can exercise them and deliver against your short and collapse it. So the other thing that's going to happen here, probably before the 10th of May or the 12th of May, being the Monday and actual business day, is that options are going to be listed. So you can effectively, do the short side with a put, assuming if there doesn't become any borrow. I expect that borrow will start to improve on this thing. There's also various things that caused the share price to go up to $70, $80 that were sort of artificial in terms of supply demand, which I outlined in the Discord. You can go in and read about that. There's some mechanical things. Those things are basically bleeding out. They're not going to be issues anymore, which is why I expect borrow will start to improve on this.
All right, let me just, so that's your update on bull. So you've been all over it. People have made a ton of money in our community over the last few days on the warrants, on the common stock. You've been all over it, hand-holding everyone through entries and exits. You've done an incredible job. I just do want to mention in the last 2 minutes we have here, what a great success story in Berna. Look, I am up at this point over 100% year to date, and had a little bit of a comeback here in the past week or so, 2 weeks, and that a lot of that was due to Berna. And this is a name that we're both totally on top of, and it's awesome when we both agree on a name. It just increases the conviction for me and for everyone else in the community. So Berna, huge winner. I mean, there's a lot of people in our community who are up way more than me, up way more than 100% year to date. Look at this big move off of the earnings. We rode this into the earnings report. I personally did it with call options. A lot of people followed me, also did it with call options along with the common stock. And look at this relative strength. That's a huge, huge, look at that. In a market like this, we can find a winner like that. So just kudos to everyone, and good job, Godfather.
Still a fantastic buying opportunity down here at 2070.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. How you guys doing? How'd you guys do?
You did good. How do you do?
I did all right here. I am seeing this last pop here. I heard that you guys were wondering what the news was. Maybe it was this. I think it might have been this Fitch rating. That's about all I can find out there. Maybe the cuts to weren't as bad as expected. I went ahead and linked the article in the chat.
0.4%. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but that was the only thing that I could find where the timing kind of lined up with that move. But
interesting.
All right. Good stuff, fellas. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Ryan.
We're going to see you next week. Have a great Easter holiday, all right?
You too. Take care.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
That is Story Trading. That is Rhett, Ben, and Godfather. They do a great job here. Really, really appreciate it. Folks, I'm going to be sending you over to Futures Fever next. Remember, we do have Powell coming up at 1:30. We're going to be carrying that press conference here on the channel. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow to close.